towards the audience.
Ah, okay. That's quite a rare
Interesting
scenario.
setup, yeah? Usually people are turning it into the inside or straightforward facing to the opponent.
Yeah, so Nepo, okay, the fist bump, the action's about to begin. Do you think in November we'll be seeing fist bumps as well at the World Championship, or will we be allowed to see handshakes once more?
I don't know, that's a very good question. I think they will keep the fist bump.
And, okay, so the players just getting ready. Nepomniachtchi, 1e4? That would be my guess.
You think so?
He's played a few things so far this tournament. He's played the English, he's played e4. Has he played d4? Can't quite remember.
And it seems like it stays that way, but I have the feeling that now maybe it's going to be a new trend, that when people are making their first move, they keep it that way for a moment, and then they take it back and they make something new. This is what happened yesterday with Magnus, right?
That's true.
So I wonder.
There we
You
go.
see?
The move goes back.
You see?
Okay, is he teasing us though? Will he play e4 anyway?
Like, you know, chess players are somehow always go into the details. And of course, these two guys there, they have their... And okay, e4.
Of course.
Okay, so
E4.
no tricks, but e4 on the board.
Yeah, and these guys, they know each other extremely well. Nepomniachtchi has acted as a second for Magnus in the past as well, so there won't be any opening surprises in this one. Will we see another Roy Lopez?
Will it be a Berlin?
Might well be a Berlin. That's what happened actually in the reverse fixture in the classical game. It was a Berlin with Magnus on the white side, but no, it's
Bishop c4, Italian. Which means they want to have, Nepo wants to have simply a long game.
Yeah, no quick draws in the Italian, right? That's one of the few openings, I guess, in e4.
It's quite hard to do so, right?
Very difficult to achieve.
This is not exactly why people choose to play the Italian on a high level, to make a quick draw.
Yeah, normally just to keep all the pieces on the board and maneuver around. Magnus bringing his bishop out. Okay, so there are some direct lines for white if you play with c3 and a quick d4. If not,
and
we'll
it's on the board.
Okay, so c3 and Yoko Piano, or something a bit more direct. What do you think, d3 or d4?
Ooh, d4.
Okay, d4.
You see, he's going to sharpen things maybe, after all, at least in the opening.
So I remember this was one of the first openings I ever learnt when I was playing chess.
Yeah?
From both sides, because there are so many tricky variations, right? After e takes d4, c takes d4 is a move. e5 is the most trendy though.
But he goes e5.
So.
And we're going to see d5, I guess?
Yep, d5. It's pretty much the only way that people play these days. And bishop b5, most likely.
I also wonder how fast are they going to be fleshing out their moves, until which point?
Yeah, both players will be very familiar with this. It's very trendy at the top level nowadays. Did you ever have this position in your career, Judith?
I think no, because I was not really playing the Italian myself, and I was not an e5 player.
So much,
I played a few times e5. Petrov I started to play, but then I figured out that maybe it's not my piece of bread.
Yeah, nobody wants to see the Petrov too much.
With either color.
With either color, exactly, exactly. That's one opening as well that as black I just refuse to play, just on principle. But okay, meanwhile, this is still very much mainline theory. Here white usually develops the knight to c3. There are maybe a couple of other moves as well, but knight c3 on the board. And black usually castles. Actually, there were some interesting clashes between Wesley So and Magnus Carlsen earlier this year in the Champions Chess Tour in this opening as well. Wesley So famously making a chessable course about this exact line and using some of the ideas from that course to beat Magnus. I think more than once. I think he beat him at least 2 or 3 times in this opening, so it would be surprising if the world champion hasn't done his homework.
So maybe that was one of the reasons why Nepomniachtchi chose this line, because he saw a few games lost by Magnus.
Yeah, I guess that's good strategy, right? If you know your opponent's had some bad experiences in an opening.
Obviously he works on it and he's going to be improving on that, but sometimes it happens that someone is losing a few games in a system because simply he's just not feeling so comfortable or doesn't feel the position that much.
True.
I remember with some line, I was keep playing and I was very happy with that, and then my coach, I think it was Psahis, who said, well, maybe it's time to stop playing this line. Say, why? I love it so much. It's, yeah, but you lose all your games.
I mean, hard love, right?
So,
tough love.
Yeah, statistics
Brutal
sometimes it's you neglect because you just like the position, you think it's good, you play it well, but somehow the end of it doesn't work on your way.
Am I allowed to ask what opening that was?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember which line it was, but I just remember the story that it just pulled my attention to that, well, maybe I should switch something around it. Either learn it a little bit better or just avoid that.
Yeah, chess players, we have these selective memories, right? We blank out the bad, the defeats. We remember the good positions, we remember the good results. And meanwhile, Magnus just bringing his bishop out to g4. Again, very standard stuff. And we will probably check back on this one a bit later on.
And we have a Sicilian between Alireza and Rapport.
Okay.
And he chose after all c5. Of course, it's not an easy decision at this stage, at this situation, tournament situation for Rapport to choose. But he went for c5, knight f3, knight c6. I don't know what he had in mind to play after d4. Maybe it was the Carlsen as well, again, but maybe something else. Anyway, 3 bishop b5 is on the board, knight f6, knight c3, and he's thinking now.
Yeah, so still quite a standard position. I think black has a few alternatives here. Knight d4 is
maybe the main one, no?
Yeah, but it's also quite risky, and I think there have been some games here lately after knight d4. Okay, he does play this, and I think lately they've been playing e5 as white. Yeah,
e5 seems to be very concrete action.
And after knight takes b5, knight takes b5, black can play knight d5, and here, if I remember correctly, they've been playing all sorts of moves, even knight g5 for white, and some crazy.
It goes so direct. Fast, some action.
Oh, white just castles as well. And yeah, very, very direct play. Black having the bishop pair, but quite significantly behind the development. Yeah,
how to develop, right? That's the big question in this position, whether to play g6 and bishop g7, or first to kick away the knight from b5. It can be also an alternative, or some way to play it with e6.
Yeah, and okay, just checking the database, this has been played many times lately, but again, another game between Wesley So and Magnus Carlsen where e5 did happen. e5 is actually by far the main move. And the alternatives would be for white to retreat his bishop back to c4 or to d3, but I don't think we'll see that from Alireza somehow. Black can play e6 and just get a position. Yeah, it's interesting which direction Alireza is going to be moving, but we're also going to see how much he's prepared on this, looking how much his time he's going to spend on that. Right? Yeah, that'll be a big tell. Either way, provocative from Rapport. Asking for e5 and asking for this, just asking to be attacked, essentially.
Yeah.
But taking the bishop pair and some long-term trumps there. So okay, we're expecting e5, you think, from Firouzja? And
probably.
Yeah, I guess if white castles, then can black grab a pawn? With knight takes b5 and knight takes e4.
Well, nowadays it seems like that everybody's sacrificing a pawn in the very early stage of the opening, right?
In every opening, right?
Yeah, every opening, most unexpected, just for long-term strategies.
So, for example, we could see knight takes b5, knight takes b5, knight takes e4, and does white play rook e1 or d4? Or,
At first, it doesn't seem too dangerous for black, no?
No.
After d3, black can go back to d6, not to f6 because of bishop f4.
Yeah. Maybe. Okay, I guess black plays d4, and there's nothing immediate for white. So, yeah, I think somehow we'll see e5 and.
Yeah, e5 is the straightforward, or come back with the bishop.
Whether Alireza has studied it or not, I think e5 is just. You just play a position, right? You just gain a bit of time. And even if you don't get some direct initiative, it's playable. You have chances to be creative later on.
Yeah, yeah. I'm expecting a complicated game here.
And in the third game of today?
In the third game, only very few moves happened. It's,
Okay.
well, he wanted the Queen's Indian, but d5. So, Queen's Gambit, right? Well, it depends where we are leading to.
Yeah.
Of course, b6.
B6.
Is b6 common move?
From these move orders, I think you can play it.
After e3.
After e3, yeah. You normally don't want to play b6 if your opponent's bishop can come out to g5, for example. But by transposition, I think it might just head into something relatively well-known, usually, okay, say knight c3.
Yeah, yeah, that's
okay,
on
that's
the board.
played. Bishop b7. Black can set up in a few ways. Black often even just puts the other bishop on d6 and plays
Maybe
ace.
CD they play, or bishop d3?
I think normally bishop d3, castles b3, and it becomes a slower game.
Well, unless black takes on c4, right?
Okay, sure. So maybe we start with b3. So many move orders and
Yeah.
nuances here. I remember having this type of thing as black many times, but normally it's not this exact move order. It might come from a reti or an
Oh
English.
yeah, there. I mean, such positions, they come from so many different move orders.
Okay, so still early days in this one as well. I think Carlsen himself likes to set up in this fashion as black, so interesting to see Tari adopt this setup. Okay, meanwhile there have been some moves in the Nomhomniachi game.
Yeah, the big game of today. Bishop g4 developed, bishop h5, queen c2.
Yeah, so this is the ultra main line, essentially. This is what everyone is doing.
So what about bishop g6? Do they play that move?
And now queen b3, I think, is the main reply. And I've actually had this position as white myself once, but I forgot to flick in h3, so my opponent's bishop was on f5.
Okay.
And then with black's bishop on f5, black can actually play knight a5. That's, maybe we can show this on the board while our lights go off here in the studio.
Yeah.
And,
Okay, which one?
so
Sorry?
maybe before h3, so if white immediately plays queen c2, which used to be the main line,
Bishop f5, queen b3.
Now knight a5 is actually very strong, because after queen takes d5, black just plays queen e7 and tries to trap the white queen in the center of the board with either c6 or rook a d8 next move. So for example, knight takes e4, just rook d8, and it becomes very sharp. White has to play knight d6 to throw something in the way.
What kind of lines there are?
Yeah, there's a lot of theory in this type of thing. And yeah, I think black is doing quite well in general. So that's why white flicks in h3 and bishop h5, because in the current position, after queen c2, bishop g6, you mentioned queen b3.
Queen b3.
Now if knight a5, it's less effective.
So what is the difference?
Queen d7, I think, in some lines is a big difference. I'm not sure if it's exactly here, but either way, this is supposed to be
small details, but it makes a difference in the evaluation, right?
I think queen d7, and white is doing quite well.
So is f5 the common reaction, or knight c3,
f5
knight c3?
and knight c3. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what has been played. So now b takes c3 is after queen c3, bishop a5?
Yep.
Or bishop c6? No.
Or bishop c6.
B takes c3.
Yeah, I think recently as well they were playing bishop a5 rather than knight takes c3, and there were some ideas to force a draw very quickly, but Magnus instead chooses to keep tension, so f6. And Aryan's played countless games in this from the white side. Every time I look at the position, I think, oh, it just should be equal, and then he wins. So,
EF6.
EF6,
They are playing very fast, so both are still in the book.
Both still in book. And I expect to see Magnus take with his queen.
Queen f6.
Yeah, I think bishop takes f3 is not so appealing because of
Well,
f takes g7.
f takes g7 seems to be the intermezzo there.
So you need to capture that pawn. And yeah, after, okay, he does play queen takes f6.
Queen f6 is on the board.
Yeah,
so if now bishop c6 with the idea takes a knight e5, in that case I assume that bishop f3 would be
very strong, yeah. Another intermezzo, and
But after queen f6, white played bishop e2, defending the f3 knight.
Yeah. So I think white's main argument here is just
The
that the bishop on
bishop.
b6 is not great. And if the black knight ever moves, then white will jump into e5 with his knight. So,
Okay, so rook e8 seems to be the most logical at first.
and white will castle, most likely, on, well, castle kingside. And, yeah, I mean, I've looked at these a little bit. I think they're equal completely, but the computer always says 0.0, of course.
Okay,
But,
that's not much of a help
not
when you
surprised,
play.
not a surprise at all. But I was just going to say it's slightly trickier for black to play.
Yeah, the
than for white.
e5 square is somewhat like, let's say black goes knight e7, then knight e5. And already white can be better, right?
Yeah, there's already threats of knight d7,
Yeah,
white can play f4.
Yeah. So this black has to be careful, and the b6 bishop is not so easy to relocate. Let's say if it would be on d6, black would be better.
Happy days, yeah.
But this is not the case for the moment. Can black go moves like knight d8 with the idea c6, bishop c7, oops,
Okay,
and knight f7 in
Yeah.
case of knight e5?
possibly. So knight
Let's
e5,
say
I
knight
guess,
e5 takes,
takes. And you have to spend one move maybe guarding against knight d7.
maybe rook e7.
Okay. Queen g4, maybe?
You really want to play this knight d7.
Yeah, or bishop g5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you can play queen e6, and it's nothing too special, but slightly uncomfortable having this knight on e5, maybe.
Well, the question is whether it's only temporary or
Whether you can
or
trade
it
it off.
can, yeah, if let's say you go queen h5, I don't know, c6 or knight f7, right?
Yeah.
f4.
F4. Maybe a small advantage to white, nothing too special.
Though after f4, black can relocate his knight to e4.
Okay, so not even taking, yeah. This might become crazy
But
if
he went
white
knight
gets
a-
f5 later on.
He went knight a5 very fast.
Okay, so knight a5, yeah. I guess he wants to play knight c4 before white gets a chance for knight e5. White's just castled, so not
White
quite
castled.
enough time.
Okay. And why didn't white play knight e5?
Good
To
question.
get control?
Okay, I guess bishop takes c2,
There is not much of a choice. Takes, queen e6.
queen e6 and knight c4 you want?
Well, I want to defend against knight d7. Of course, rook d8 would be also possible.
Yeah, I guess white castles,
And then maybe knight c4.
maybe knight c4, maybe c6, yeah. Maybe c6, bishop c7 as well.
Yeah, that keeps the tension, and maybe if black can eliminate the e5, knight e4, black can also play for a win, right?
Yeah, knight and c4. It will look a bit like Rapport's game against Tari earlier this tournament.
Exactly.
So, okay, with this in mind, I guess white didn't want to show his hand too soon.
Okay, so he went
Castled.
castle.
Yeah, and yeah, I
What
guess
has Magnus in mind? Can he go knight c4 immediately?
that's the big question. Knight c4, and if white takes on c4,
Then bishop f3.
and yeah, bishop b3 maybe. Can you hold everything together for black? You would love to play queen g6, but not quite.
Yeah, not quite.
And bishop
Right
e4,
now.
there's queen takes e4.
Yeah, that's a problem, that this is a pin over there. This is a nice detail, that
Yeah.
if black cannot take on f3 because
Otherwise,
of this.
otherwise black's just doing great, right?
Okay, so if black takes back, then knight e5, and it seems that white is more pleasant.
Yeah, bishop pair for black, but this knight is just too strong.
Okay, so this is an important part for black, for white, that it's not possible to play knight c4.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think back to some games. I mean, maybe I can check here as well, but Aronian, as I mentioned, the big expert here for white, and I've definitely seen some games against Karyakin where at some point, either this move or maybe in a different move order, but black just takes on f3, gets rid of the idea of knight e5, and then just c6, and then just knight c4, bishop c7, and yes, white has the bishop pair, but nothing too special. The bishop on e3 especially, not a great piece.
Okay.
So maybe one idea here. Magnus, though, is it surprising to see him think? Because this is still kind of the main line. Maybe just
Are
doesn't
there
want to show
still a
his
lot of
preparation.
games on this?
There are not that many, only 7 games
Actually,
according to this
Magnus had
database.
a game until this point.
Including Magnus. And there he
Okay.
did play bishop takes.
Okay, so let's see
F3.
what happened there. Bishop f3 takes, c6,
Yep, c6, rook
Rook
a,
e1.
e1, knight c4,
bishop c1.
and bishop c1 to keep the bishops. So this was a rapid game against Wesley So, an online game, and there Magnus actually played queen g6.
Well, okay, it's also possible that Magnus just, he was happy with the position and now he's thinking that what exactly Nepo could have in mind, right? Because for sure Nepo prepared some idea.
Yeah,
It's not that it's going to be a killing idea, it shows, and actually he's repeating his previous games by playing bishop f3.
yeah. So
But he wants to double check whether it's anything
I mean,
that can be unpleasant.
yeah, as you mentioned, it's not going to be anything special from Nepomniachtchi, but maybe he thinks that position at the end there that we showed, if it does arise, is just very playable for white. And okay, c6 on the board, knight c4. Could almost be pre-moved.
Rook e1 seems to be the best move because you don't want to give up your black square bishop, so you have to move away. In that case, the rook has to be already on the e file that white
Yep.
can move back to c1, right?
Without blocking the rook on a1. Yeah. What would black be aiming for here? I mean, I know he's played queen g6 in the past, but
And what was that game? Was it a draw at the end?
it was a draw. I think I remember watching this one actually later on, and Wesley had a little bit of pressure, but Magnus is Magnus. He can, he
Yeah,
can
but
deal
in
with
this
this.
position, still, if there is going to be some pressure, it's a nice choice from white,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Just to try it out.
And okay, knight c4, and then I guess that will happen at some point. Knight c4, bishop c1, and the big question is queen g6 or just bishop c7. just
After
rook
queen
e8.
g6, was it an exchange or white went away queen d1?
It was an exchange of queens.
What about
yeah.
queen d1?
Okay, so
Because I like my
Bishop
bishop
h5 ideas,
somehow,
bishop
white
g4.
squares here and there.
can black try something direct just to punish your queen being away from the c3 pawn, bishop a5 maybe?
And on bishop h5,
Bishop h5, queen f6,
yeah, white can go queen d3,
queen
for
d3,
example.
Bishop h5 is quite a nice resource to have.
Yeah, I want to provoke you a little bit to make some weaknesses.
Yeah, I
And
don't-
also it's important that I don't allow your rook to oppose to my rook on the e file.
well, you at least force black to play a move like g6, which could come
Yeah,
back
I
to
don't
bite
think
him.
Magnus would be happy with moves like g6 from black side.
Yeah,
Bishop g4, rook e8.
bishop h6 coming sometimes.
Bishop h6, also maybe
Maybe not
f4,
immediately.
f5.
Yeah, f4 looks very tempting. f4, knight d6. Ah, but then there's bishop a3.
Yeah, but
some
it's,
concrete issues to deal with.
It's a fight.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. We got what we wanted, Judith. You said he
Yeah.
he shouldn't go for the draw, a quick draw. We've got a fight.
No, I think the minimum what they want to do, and it was the same scenario with white when Magnus was playing with the white pieces. It was a Berlin, and then he didn't go to the anti-Berlin with d3, but he went into the end game. He wanted to press a little bit. If it works out and he wins, fine. If it's
Yeah.
only a draw and he's pressing, also fine. And that the second one, what happened, and in the Armageddon he was able to win.
Yeah.
So actually we have a repetition of that game, right? Queen g6 again, and we have seen now queen d1, the
Okay.
deviation.
The novelty, queen d1, and
Well, there were two options, right? Either to exchange or to play queen d1 in order to protect the bishop on f3 and to have some activity.
no, in general it makes sense, right? The bishop's not looking too impressive right now, so maybe just keeping the queens on the board will help them. Just find better squares before maybe later you do allow a queen exchange. And black's not quite ready to
Well,
challenge yet.
the first question is right now, I think, whether can black go rook e8 or
Bishop h5.
does it favor him to exchange one pair of rooks, let's say, or does it favor black,
Okay.
let's say? So in this position, maybe
Yes.
queen c2 or queen e2,
Both look good.
because actually
Bishop
the bishop can be very powerful.
Yeah, if you can reroute the bishop round to e6 or d3 or
And
along
here
the
it
squares.
seems like white can keep the e file, which can be
Mhm.
very important for later.
Yeah. And what would white's plan be? Start pushing some
Oh, there are
kingside
a
pawns
lot
later?
of plans. I could even imagine to go, for example, g3,
G3,
h4, bishop g5. So once the white can activate both of his bishops, it can be deadly dangerous for black. The black king is vulnerable. The b6 bishop is not really doing too much unless it's going to go to a5, looking for some counter chances. Or maybe black can go c5, trying to open up the diagonal for the bishop.
That's
But I
conventional
think-
wisdom, right? If your opponent has a bishop pair, you need to accelerate the play before they stabilize.
Yeah, but I think things can
yeah.
speed up also, and black can be also in danger in some cases. So I'm not sure exchanging the rooks is the good strategy for black. For example,
So
bishop
say-
c7,
Yep. And now this idea you mentioned, just bishop h5, just to kick the white,
bishop
the black queen
h5,
off.
queen d6. I don't know if white can go g3 or
Okay.
he would go f4.
Because f4 might be part of the plan later, but g3 would be the ideal move. Are you worried about some rook takes f2?
Well, for now I
Sacrifices.
think there is no rook f2 because
Yeah,
there is not much after
No backup.
rook
no follow-up.
g2.
Yep.
But yeah, okay, so g3 is very sensible actually.
Mm-hmm.
This is this is the other question, I think. That after g6, bishop g4, rook e8, let's say.
Okay.
But again, it looks kind of dubious, right? Because bishop h6, forcing black to exchange.
Yeah.
And then black is in big danger
Big
with the
squares.
e6 square.
Yeah.
So I think black has to be extremely smart and precise in this position, not to allow for white to control the white squares.
Yeah. Are you surprised that Magnus has repeated this? Because this game was just a couple of months ago and it was his most recent game in this line. I mean, he's walking straight forward into preparation, head first, just allowing Nepomniachtchi to show his idea. That's brave.
Yeah, but winning 4 games in a row and after that still believing in yourself,
Yeah.
and if he felt that he had absolutely no problem in that game, it is kind of logical consequences of his way of thinking.
No, perhaps.
But
Either
queen
way.
d1 is, I'm sure already in that game he was considering queen d1. So it does not come as a 100% big surprise to him.
So queen d1 on the board, and yeah, another thing that isn't a surprise is that this position has been analyzed quite a lot, a couple of 100 times on the cloud, on the database. So, and there, bishop a5 looks to be the most analyzed move. So actually, we mentioned this, just trying to.
Well, this is the
target
most
pawn and
straightforward to highlight the problems of white's position, right? Just immediately attacking on c3, which after, obviously, white will be pushing his bishop either to, actually also bishop g4 maybe is
Okay, just to give a
possible
pawn.
to give a pawn, but of course bishop h5 is the first move which has to be considered.
Because now if black tries to keep an eye on this bishop with queen f5, then you play bishop g4 with tempo, and you.
Yeah, and then I control
Right.
immediately the e6 square.
So I guess f6 looks like the safest square for the black queen.
f6 or d6, I think. And then we look the queen d3, didn't we?
Queen d3. Yeah. And yeah, I don't see it. I think black has to play g6 at some
And
point.
then, okay, g6, bishop g4, rook e8.
Maybe this is the type of position that Magnus will have to head for and just hope that white can't play f4, f5.
Well,
at some
now,
point.
of course, it's important that white cannot go bishop h6 because of check, because of rook e1 and f2
F2.
is hanging, so white has to think of something. For example, queen g3, maybe it's a nice move.
Okay, could I play?
Defending the f2, also defending the kind of bishop c7
Could I play
moves.
bishop c7 anyway, Judith?
Oh, I just said that I stopped it, and you don't believe me.
I don't know, just
But I think you will be in trouble, you know,
rook takes c1.
because
Could backfire.
takes, and it will backfire, I think, pretty heavily,
Bishop
because
h6.
bishop h6,
Yeah,
and then it's not
checkmate
possible.
coming. Yeah, tricksters get tricked.
So queen g3 can be pretty unpleasant for black now. h5 is not possible, so bishop h6 is a threat, practically.
Maybe knight d6, just to try and come round. Oh, but bishop g5.
Wow.
The bishops are coming to
So,
life.
Queen g5, bishop e6.
Yeah, it's not easy at all, actually, this type of position.
No, it looks like a lot of tactics, a lot of
Yeah,
opportunities
already.
for white.
Yeah, the bishop pair, like I said originally, it didn't look too impressive, but just give them 2 or 3 moves and...
Actually, I'm pretty sure that Nepo is very happy
Mhm.
with his preparation. And you can see the time also. He spent just a few minutes for technicalities, not for thinking really about moves. At the same time, for Magnus, 25 minutes.
Yeah, and he does play rook e8, so he's offering to give
Wow.
up this e-file. You mentioned that this is a bit of a risky strategy for black. Bishop h5
Okay,
is
so let's
almost
see
automatic.
what he has in mind.
I guess you could start with rook takes e8, but I'm not sure what move order.
Yeah,
You want
this
to
is
head
also possible, and it's a question whether is he going to start with this or playing. But after this, maybe black goes queen f7, and the bishop is tied a little bit to f3 because of the f2 pawn.
Queen e2 maybe,
And then knight d6,
knight e6, bishop g4.
hoping to play rook e8 in the
Yeah.
next move.
I was going to say bishop g4 maybe, but
Sorry, bishop g4.
maybe, but knight e4, you have to calculate a bit suddenly.
Also, maybe he can go knight f5.
Just to block the
But
bishop.
knight e4 also looks pretty
Yeah.
nice.
Okay, so maybe this is one idea by Magnus, and bishop h5 is the other option in the current position. For sure, Nepomniachtchi, actually, he will have analysed this and looked a little bit deeper. Bishop
Okay,
h5.
so bishop h5, he
Mm-hmm.
takes on e1, rook takes e1, and now the question is queen f6, queen f5, let's say queen f5,
Either way, queen e2,
queen e2.
defending everything, and bishop g4 coming next.
I don't know, for some reason it looks very nice for white.
Yeah, I can tell in your voice you love white's position right now.
You also like white's position.
If I had to pick, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had this type of thing as black, never from the white side, but yeah.
Well,
I'm
Magnus
definitely-
cannot pick.
No, he can't pick. He wishes he
has
could.
to. He has to deal with it. What he has.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say serious pressure, but some definite questions to answer for black right now.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it would be a good choice to swap the queens in some way or another.
He's already shown he wants that right earlier.
Yeah,
in queen g6.
yeah, by any means, even if it would cost him doubling his pawns.
Okay, so Magnus will be quite a bit lower on the clock and still with some issues to solve, we think. Maybe we can check out the Firouzja game.
Absolutely, because there are some
Also-
nice things happening here. Of course, e5 was played, knight b5, knight b5, knight d5. Castle,
Okay.
a6. I'm sure this is all theory and many games on those, right?
Yes,
c4.
still well-known stuff. And
c4
c4.
to push away the knight first.
Okay.
Knight b4 and knight back to c3. And now Rapport played d6 because somehow he wants to develop and loosen on the pressure. So the e5 pawn is always very unpleasant for black, right?
Just clamps down, right? And with a pawn on e5, there's always a kingside attack. So d6 makes a lot of sense. And as you mentioned, there have been quite a few games here. White's main move by far is actually to take on d6.
Takes and queen
And,
takes?
After takes, yep, queen takes. And knight e4.
Knight e4, queen c7.
Yep. And I guess to try
D4.
and explode up in the center while black's king is in the middle. If black gets knight d3, then it's just going to be a beautiful position. So white has to open it up. As you mentioned, d4.
C takes d4.
C takes d4, and a very old game here between Tukmakov and Sveshnikov from 1978. And yeah, after c takes d4, actually white doesn't even recapture. Rook e1.
Rook e1. Well, nowadays it is very normal.
No surprise.
But this is even an old attitude can be as well.
Yeah, I guess.
Rook e1, trying to go c5, I guess, somehow.
Knight d6 check.
To take advantage of the fact that black did not castle yet. g6 is not possible because knight f6 checks, so black goes e6. Or
Yeah.
bishop f5, bishop g4.
Yeah, all of these moves. Bishop g5, bishop g4, sorry. Also f6 has been played.
Ooh.
F5 has been played. A few moves. But yeah, bishop g4 I think has the most pedigree, just by a couple of stronger players. This type of thing could well happen, because if Firouzja doesn't kind of initiate this kind of forcing play with e takes d6, then creating threats on every move with knight e4, d4, rook e1, then I think Rapport's going to be very happy. If black just gets two moves, plays e6, develops castles.
Yeah.
then-
Yeah.
Yeah. So Firouzja, he has to head for something like this and still back it up with some
And
some
if
creativity.
you, just a small detail that Firouzja spent half an hour by this time, and Rapport spent only 5 minutes,
Okay, so
which means that probably he knows more or less what he's doing, and he's happy with that.
yeah, I'm surprised by the opening choice by Rapport, but clearly it was picked specially for today.
Well,
do
I
you-
think generally Sicilian looks good in Rapport's hand,
Yeah.
maybe better than the
Most
E5
openings look,
lines.
yeah.
No, it's simply for his character, I think,
Mhm.
playing with the black pieces.
Yeah.
Because it's different. With white, many times he goes for the more solid, little plus equal d4 kind of
Yeah.
lines, right?
Low
But when
risk.
you play with black, it's not the same to play a positional little verse position.
Mhm.
It's a completely different story. I remember someone saying that I told someone that Shirov plays also so good endgames. And then he said, yes, it's true, but he plays great endgames when he's better. If you
Okay.
look at the endgames where he's worse,
And
that's
he can't
another
handle-
story.
Yeah.
And I think this is what I feel with Rapport, that with white he's okay playing with these solid, positional, slow positions where he's the one who is pressing,
Mhm.
but it doesn't fit to his style going to other sides for being the defender.
Okay, that's a good, yeah, nice way to put it. Like, just you like to squeeze, but you don't like to be squeezed. Right?
Well, okay, this
Yeah,
is kind of
yes.
obvious, right?
Yeah,
but
but-
still, in Sergei Karyakin's case, it's not the case,
doesn't
right?
mind
He
so
doesn't
much.
care. He has to suffer a little, or
I guess-
he has little worse position. He's not making a big deal out of it.
Mhm.
He just makes a draw.
I guess that's also the old school of chess, right?
Yeah.
You're happy to just be solid with black and just
Yeah.
knuckle down and defend. And yeah, Rapport's surprising Firouzja with this line, clearly.
And for him, it worked very well against Sergei when he played Sicilian.
Mhm.
Okay, Sergei was extremely aggressive in that game,
True.
but and he could save it at the end. But Rapport had he was brave. He took a pawn. He went into the complications in the middle game, and
Do you think Rapport as well, he'll also regret not taking this type of approach against Magnus, just having maybe a slightly worse position throughout and being on the
well,
opposite
he
side
was
of
he
that
was
ground?
kind of unhappy with himself that he chose this line, and he ended up pressed by Magnus for a long time.
Yeah.
And actually, it's a typical situation when, of course, he did unnecessary mistake what he did against Magnus.
Mhm.
But it is also a consequences many times that you have a worse position. Just a little bit, they press you during the whole game, and eventually you crack, and then after the game you say, okay, I made a mistake, which I lost, I shouldn't have. But it's simply the consequences of it, that you're pressed for hours and hours, and you're just defending here and there. And then at one point you crack, especially when you go down in time.
Yeah, and I know from experienced chess players, we always, even if we crack later in the game, even if it wasn't the fault of the opening, we blame the opening, we want to try something new next time, and
Yeah.
maybe that's why Rapport's gone back to the Sicilian.
D4.
D4, so an extremely rare move.
Okay.
What is his idea? So, for example, if C takes D4.
Yes, C takes D4 is the most obvious move, right? And
So Queen takes D4 is impossible
because of knight C2, right? Nowadays, I'm not sure about these
Yeah,
things.
even this is.
You never know. But it seems like,
Queen
though I'm
E4,
not
bishop
sure.
G5.
You know, I'm not sure. Yeah, you go somehow.
Or out some, yeah. Or E takes D6 and bishop F4 and some. It's still. You have to doubt it, right? It's a whole rook, but
Well, it's a half rook.
it's half a rook.
Because
Okay,
this
you get a knight
not
back.
does not come out, right?
Okay, so maybe Firouzja, thinking all this time, has come
Okay,
up with
but
something. that's
actually after
more
queen
likely.
d4, of course, knight c2 is the most critical, but also
Mm-hmm.
knight c6 is possible
Okay.
to simply exchange the pawn and
That would need a lot of self-restraint. You see a free rook and you just retreat and play positioning. Yeah. So after d4, c takes d4, let's assume that Firouzja probably doesn't want to give up the rook yet. What else? What else could he try? Okay, c takes d4 on the board.
C takes d4 on the board, and I think we'll figure out very soon what his idea.
Check with his queen.
Well, if check, then I think knight c6, and after this, bishop d7.
d7, yeah. No issues at all. How about the other move order? So maybe knight takes d4 first, but just d takes e5, right?
Okay, d takes e5, queen a4, and bishop d7,
d7,
right? Takes, and it seems to be black is doing very fine.
Yeah. Knight d5, there's e6.
E6 move.
Yeah, just not quite in time for white. It's very mysterious. d4. I mean, we mentioned he's in a must-win situation. Do you think he's going to burn all his bridges and go
I don't know. I'm
crazy for some
thinking,
attack already?
here, queen b7, e takes d, rook e1, bishop e7, rook e7. I don't know.
King e7.
Nowadays, I just don't trust in these things anymore. You never know.
You don't want to be black here because you're getting attacked. You don't want to be white because you're rook down. Yeah, nowadays chess is hard.
You don't know how long you have to think to figure out that. But I think now black is really having a rook up and everything is fine for him.
Yeah, or king e8 maybe, just to be safe. But king f6 is brave.
Yeah, king e8 looks also quite fine. So what does white have in his mind?
Okay, so it's slightly surprising that he's thinking as well, because c takes d4 is a given once he's played d4.
Well, definitely, that was the most obvious move. And queen d. You see?
Queen d4.
You see?
Wow. Okay.
I'm telling you, rooks doesn't count nowadays.
Wow, fire on the board from Firouzja already.
Ooh.
It's a rook.
You see? You see, that nowadays a rook is just...
it's a minor detail.
Minor, completely.
Okay.
No, I'm telling you that I think white just gives up and develops. Bishop f4 is also kind of interesting.
Okay, wow. Bishop f4. I mean, I was going to say Firouzja spent a little bit of time, but if I was about to sacrifice a rook, I would have been probably trying to calculate right to the very end. And this is not the type of position where you can...
No, but I would be actually surprised if he would come up with this at the board.
Okay, but he's spent 35 minutes. It's...
Okay, but that can also be, yeah, this is a typical analysis between chess players, right?
Yeah.
Okay, he offers something. Is it a home preparation or not? Well, he spent 35 minutes already. No, it cannot be. No, but you don't offer a rook at the board, right?
Exactly, especially for some compensation that's still relatively kind of theoretical right now. It's not actually no
So what is it?
Breakthrough.
Let's say bishop f4. I want to play bishop f4 because I want simply to take on d6, right?
Okay, so say I take...
So e6, or you take, let's say, and if after takes, I have different ideas. First of all, I have just bishop e5.
Okay.
The other move I would wonder, if rook d1,
Yeah.
are you going to take this and you think that black is fine?
It's tempting. Black has two rooks and...
Knight c3 and knight d5 next?
Yeah. Yeah, the black king still needs a few moves. Okay, so say I don't give up the queen, say queen a5, or where's a safe square? Not too many safe squares, actually. Yeah, I don't see what black's next move is, to be honest, after bishop takes e5. Just e6, maybe? I mean, it's scary, but...
Okay, you have a pawn.
Yeah.
You have a rook up.
Yeah.
As I say, it's a half a rook.
Half a rook, and okay, this position after queen takes d4 right now.
Okay, let's say queen d4, knight c2.
Okay.
So I think it's pretty obvious that white wants to go queen e4. No, that seems to be the most promising. Takes on a1, and now bishop g5 was also an alternative.
Yeah. For bishop g5, there's a small chance after d takes e5 you might get hit by f6 in some lines. don't know whether, because black maybe wants f6 in some positions to play king f7 if he's not going to be able to castle.
Yeah, okay, so in this position, by the way, what about
He takes immediately, yeah. I guess.
Queen takes?
Yep, queen takes. Rook d1 maybe?
Knight d5, bishop e6, yeah? If rook d1, knight d5.
Yeah, this type of thing. We found one trap. We found one nice idea. Nice
Okay, so let's say queen c6.
Knight d5, just bishop e6, I guess. So queen d somewhere.
Queen d4, you just go
Just
with your
bishop
bishop, right?
Yeah. Not enough ammunition. So actually, Judith, this position has been studied before, of course, on the cloud over 100 times.
Only
Only. And guess what the evaluation is?
0, 0, 0.
Of course. So that's chess nowadays. With best play, both sides should be fine, but nothing more than that.
So what's
knight
the
takes
move
A1.
after knight a1? Is it bishop f4, rook d1,
So after,
bg5?
let's check. So queen e4, knight takes, and a few moves have been analysed, ed6 and bishop f4 seem to be the most popular moves.
I
That
like
have been
bishop
studied.
f4. And after d takes e5,
Yeah, bishop f4, d takes e5,
knight e5?
and apparently d takes e5 loses. So it's that type of position. Double-edged sword. Rook d1 was actually
It was the
initial
good move.
Rook d1, yeah. And okay, it's only been studied a few times here. If black does play, for example, queen a5, as we mentioned, then b4.
Of course, what else?
Yeah, of course. How did we miss this? We shouldn't have doubted. b4, and I guess the idea is just to gain time with knight d5.
Yeah,
In a tempo,
but
so queen takes
actually,
b4, knight d5.
so queen d1 is losing.
Yep.
That's kind of interesting. Takes, knight c3, I
Knight
guess,
c3,
right?
yeah. And
And simply black cannot develop in time.
mhm,
So knight d5 is there.
yeah, I mean, okay, play goes on, but at least the engine thinks it's pretty good for white. I guess the queens and knights will create some
What
huge
an
threats.
awful position to face in the last round for Rapport, no?
Yeah.
And can you
it's
imagine,
the-
you play this line, you think, okay, it's just, you exchange some pawns, middle game, and then suddenly you receive this queen d4, and you said, queen d4 is not possible, it's a rook. I said, no, no, no.
Yeah, and okay, Rapport's, he knows he needs to win as well as black, and he's taking up the
Well,
challenge.
yeah, probably he thinks that, come on, you just cannot give rooks in move 10 without paying its price.
Yeah, it's the psychology. I mean, that's what intrigues me. It's just the fact that Firouzja spent 35 minutes before going for this. I mean, surely it would be scarier if you knew this type of position, if you just bash out the moves and...
Well, yeah, probably if Firouzja would have spent like 10 minutes until this point, he wouldn't go knight c2.
Okay, then
No?
you play knight c6 and just try to... maybe. You think Firouzja's spent that time on purpose, partly
You
double
never
checking his
know. I
variations,
mean, there are a lot of
partly luring him in.
players who do that.
Yeah, true. I do it in blitz games sometimes, just if there's a small dirty two-move trick, just spend 10 seconds just shaking the head. But in classical chess, it's...
Though I'm surprised now that he's thinking.
Firouzja's thinking, yeah. I mean, it's already the point of no return, right? You've allowed knight c2.
Well, he's not sacrificing his queen.
Yeah. I think the other squares as well, they don't make as much sense. Queen e4 is just so
No,
natural.
queen e4 is just so centralized, right?
Yeah.
It
The
just
same-
stands so well on e4.
The same file as the black king, forcing the black knight, well, covering the escape route of the black knight.
So after bishop f4, what is the good move if d takes e5 is losing?
Yeah.
Is it bishop g4 or e6 or
A lot of moves have been
knight
analysed.
c2?
Bishop e6, maybe. I'm not sure I would play this one at the board. Just giving
Well,
up the b7
actually,
pawn.
there is not much of a choice.
Yeah. Knight c2 feels wrong somehow because yes, you.
And
Okay, queen e4 on the board
yeah, knight a1.
disappears. Okay, definitely got what we wanted in this last round.
Well, what a game.
This is going to be distracting as well for Magnus. We know Magnus likes to keep an eye out on the other boards, and here his two kind of chasers in the tournament.
I wonder if Rapport have seen this move before, or was he analyzing it? Because it's very much his type of move, right?
Yeah.
So it comes to his head also, this kind of... And it's typically that strong players love initiative, by any means, right?
Yeah.
Even just sacrificing a rook.
Yeah, they love testing the opponent, they love forcing the opponent to find only moves on every turn. So you know Rapport quite well. Is he the type of player to study a lot with an engine in these deep lines, in these quite rare lines as well? Do you think?
I don't know. I don't know him so well that that I would know, but I'm pretty sure that he is working with engine as well, of course. Well, who doesn't? The only question is on how many hours and what kind of positions,
Yeah.
right?
How professionally, what depth you leave the engine to
And what kind of
study to.
position with which engine you're working with.
How about yourself? Did you study a lot with engines kind of towards the later days of your playing career, or did you still try to kind of do things the traditional way?
Well, I knew that I don't have a chance to not to do those things, even though I have to admit that I was struggling to admit in the early 20s, 2001 to somehow there. I had big struggle that I didn't want to work with the engines really.
Sure.
And then the engines tricked me with evaluation, with ideas. I didn't go deep
It's
enough.
a whole new language, right?
Yeah. And but then I had to admit that there is no way out. It's either you use your engines or you use another engine.
Yeah. Sure.
But there is no way. Simply, you don't have enough time for. First of all, you don't have enough time. Secondly, you're just much more efficient using it. So later on, it also only the big question is, and I think ever since it's a big question for players, how to keep the balance, to work at the chessboard and rely on your ideas, and then you have a sparring partner or coach, someone who is checking it.
Yeah.
So that's the most ideal. But I was using it, of course.
Okay.
Of course.
No, I admit as well, I was reluctant to start using them, and there were moments when I did eventually give in to the temptation that I was just brainwashed by the engine. I just thought, okay, this position is fine, and I get to the board and I think, why, why did I play this?
Yeah, okay, that happens all the
Countless
time,
times,
of course.
yeah.
For weaker players, I think it happens pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
And also for stronger players, I know that it happened. It happened with me one game when, I don't remember when was it, but it was when I was still hesitating, and this didn't help on trusting the computers. I was playing with Mickey Adams.
Okay.
Marshall, and before the game I was checking some idea and I was very happy with that, the novelty. I checked it. Of course I didn't have enough time to go deep enough, and the evaluation said that I have like +2 or something.
Okay.
So we're having that on the board. I make the move, he replies, very interesting, and I see that it should be perpetual check. I understand. No, but the computer said I'm winning, so I should deviate from there, right?
Okay.
So I went out from the perpetual check,
Oh, no,
and I shouldn't have, and I lost the game.
Oh, engines.
So after that, again, I had a bad relationship with with the engine, and yeah, but there are problems with the engine's evaluation in some cases, and in those days there were much bigger problems.
Yeah, especially in the opening, like you said, like the Marshall. I mean, there was this famous case between Kramnik and Leko in 2004 with the World Championship match where
Yes.
one of Kramnik's seconds didn't check long enough with the engine. And
But I heard that the second, I think, he understood that there is a danger already when he was on the way to the playing hall or something, and couldn't give the info
pass on the
anymore.
message.
Yeah.
Wow. No, my most engines do that.
So knight a1, bishop f4 is the best, right?
I mean, I haven't looked too deeply, but it's the move that's been analysed, which usually means if the experts up there studying with the cloud, studying with these really strong supercomputers, if they think bishop f4 is the best move.
No, but this is really incredible that he's spending time again. So is it something that he's...
Do you think it's the type of position maybe he looked at 2 or 3 years ago and he's struggling to recall the details? because that could be a factor. Just he recalls that giving up the rook works, so it
And
could
then,
be
but
interesting.
another way is that maybe instead of bishop f4, there is another move, which is just equally interesting, which, I don't know, e takes d6, we didn't check at all.
E takes d6.
No, we talked about it.
Yeah, and queen takes d6.
Queen
is the move.
d6, bishop f4. Ah, yeah, this is what we looked, right?
Yeah.
No, rook d1.
Okay, and then queen c6,
And
and we
then
thought
queen
black was
c6, yeah.
okay.
Black is fine.
Yeah. So e takes d6, it's more forcing, but maybe it also helps black to gain a little bit of time by threatening these queen trades. So, yeah, bishop f4 to me looks the most natural.
Yeah, bishop f4 somehow looks more energetic,
Maybe you could
dynamic.
argue. Yeah.
Not to make the black queen develop so fast.
Maybe you could make an argument for rook d1 in the current position as well.
After knight a1?
Yep, maybe here.
Okay, that's also interesting.
Still the threat of e takes d6. I noticed in the other lines after bishop f4 or after e takes d6, the move that's always analysed is bishop e6 here for black, so maybe bishop e6 again just to block the e file.
And e takes d6?
Yeah, I guess I'm going to
Well,
clench
you
my
take
teeth
it
and
back.
just take it back. Yeah.
Well, you don't really have a choice,
Yeah.
I guess.
At least now knight d4 or knight g5. Can black just ignore it, or does black play queen d7? Just to defend the bishop? Still unclear. I mean, there's always ideas like f4, there's always ideas like knight d5. F4 here, maybe black castles queenside.
That's true, but what about knight d5?
Not easy at all.
No, it looks scary for black, but you should always remind yourself that you have at least a rook for this.
True, you can give back something.
And
Maybe
it will
black
take
gives-
time until
Maybe black gives up the a8 rook and lets the white knight go to a8 this time, just to get the queens off. Bishop e7, knight b6, queen c6 or something, and just give back the material. And yeah, this one is definitely going to be exciting, but very, very surprising to see Firouzja. Firouzja, I think, for so long at this point. So, yeah, meanwhile, maybe we can just take a quick peek back at Magnus's game.
Yeah.
Some small developments. The rooks have been exchanged.
And then white played bishop e2.
Okay, so maybe it's deciding that d3 is the best square for the white
Yeah,
bishop.
d3 is actually a good square, but still.
Yeah, we were thinking on more forceful paths, right?
Yeah,
Just
but now if rook e1, we said
Queen
queen
f7,
f7, right? And
yeah, queen e2 we were thinking, and
yeah, but it
Knight
makes
d6,
it makes sense actually of bishop e2, right? To have the bishop on d3. I mean, then these two bishops can be very powerful.
yeah, maybe white just lines up against the h-pawn and it's not comfortable for black to defend. Yeah, bishop e2, queen e6 was Magnus's reply. And
Well, probably
Bishop
the
d3,
idea is
surely.
after bishop d3, he wants to control the e5. Don't you think so?
okay. Yeah,
And the idea of bishop queen e6 that it controls pretty well the white squares.
and it's also nice that after bishop d3, rook e8, you control the 6th rank as well. So queen h5, you can always meet with g6. If the black queen was somewhere else, you have to worry about some sacrifices potentially. But even this type of position, if white just plays, say, h4, h5, eventually plays queen
Would
c2,
would you go something like that already?
I would be slightly tempted. I just want to play queen c2 and hit h7. Maybe I can start this way, but h4 now, there's queen g4 maybe.
These white squares. But queen
many of them.
g4, bishop g5, and maybe then on g6.
Ah, okay. Yeah, these bishops as well. Yeah, definitely some ideas for Nepomniachtchi, and he's still got a lot of time, a lot of extra time. Yeah, what else to do here other than bishop d3? That's the question. I doubt white ever wants to take on c4. I doubt rook e1 just gets pinned by rook e8.
Well, he can still go bishop g4 with the tempo and then ask where the queen is going to be
Okay,
heading to.
that makes sense. I guess black will play queen f6 to try and stop rook e1.
Yeah, and then queen e2. Still control
So
the e5.
Similar to something
I
we
don't know,
showed.
somehow I want to control the e5.
That's good chess strategy, right? Open files, controlling them.
Somehow limit the opportunities for black.
Maybe black could play queen f7 last move just to be slightly more accurate. That's to queen e2, rook e8. Either way, Nepomniachtchi just having a look around. Not too exciting compared to the other game. Suddenly, this one feels like a much slower battle.
Well, and what about bishop d3 and on rook e8 to go queen h5?
Okay, provoking g6.
Yeah, forcing that, and then somehow queen h6.
So what's your next move? Is it f4, f5? Is it h4, h5? A mix?
You're so curious.
I don't know. Okay, I'll answer for myself. Okay, so say
I
bishop
don't know.
A.
Bishop f4 is also possible. I mean, time to time, I could be thinking to play bishop f4, eliminate, take on c4, and then maybe
e5.
bishop e5.
Okay, so let's go for some counterplay with black bishop a5. Just while your queen is distracted. It looks nice for white, but no clear way to defend the c3 pawn.
You're so greedy.
I know, you've noticed this, right? Every day I'm just grabbing.
No, I just noticed it really, that you really want to grab that pawn.
I just want to make sure you're not bluffing. I notice I always want to grab pawns, but in my game I'm never brave enough to grab pawns. So
only in commentary?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay,
Picking up some bad habits.
F4.
Let's go, f4.
Let's go. Maybe it's
No.
too much. You take.
Yeah,
Yeah,
take.
F5.
Okay, maybe do I flick in bishop takes d4 first, maybe?
Of course. What else?
Yeah, I see a pawn, I want to take a pawn.
So sorry. Yeah, I think it was too much because if I come back, you play
Bishop e5,
bishop
maybe.
e3 or bishop e5.
And queen g5, there's queen g6 as well, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
all those pawns.
So bishop d3,
Let's try bishop
you go
d3.
here. Ah, you know what I can do? I go queen h5,
Okay,
and then I go queen f3.
so you want to cling on to your c3 pawn if I attack it?
Yeah, just in case. If you
case.
want to go bishop a5, then
Okay.
you will regret it.
Yeah, bishop a5, no threat. So,
No threat.
okay, say bishop c7 or just a useful move.
Okay,
What's-
bishop h6.
Okay, so
I don't want anything, just to press.
Yeah, just to improve the pieces. Yeah, suddenly it's hard for black to find a plan. Knight d6 always looks a bit slow. Maybe knight d6.
Well, probably that's what you have to do. Knight f5, knight f7, knight e4, all kind of options
Yeah.
for later.
Yeah, without the e file, it's not 100% clear what what he wants next. Yeah, Firouzja still thinking in that other game, by the way. A rook down and
Yeah,
also 40 minutes down.
he
on
just
the clock.
wanted to make sure he has rook down.
He's playing for the audience.
Frightens Rapport, checking his bravery.
But surely Rapport, he's going to be gaining in confidence every minute that Firouzja thinks.
Absolutely, and also he has time to spend calculating himself, right?
True.
So,
Yeah, Magnus down, just before this move, he was down half an hour on the clock. Now it's down to a 25-minute difference, but either way, Magnus not 100% comfortable, maybe. Not yet, at least. And yeah, the other remaining game, Carlsen against Tari, just developing quite slowly. that one much less life compared to these two games among the leaders.
Well, of course, the Rapport game is the most exciting, right? Because we have not seen in this tournament anyone sacrificing a rook at move 10.
We've seen
And
maybe-
after that, thinking 15 minutes.
Yeah, true. We've seen the King's Gambit with this sacrifice of a rook on h1.
yeah.
That was quite interesting.
Oh yeah, that was convincing by Napo, right?
By Napo, but that was all a kind of a fast blur because
And
it was an
okay,
Armageddon.
that's Armageddon.
Yeah.
In Armageddon, you're more open to sacrifice pieces.
Yeah, you can take risks. You got more
Yeah.
time with white. Here, Firouzja definitely doesn't have as much time. So, okay. You still prefer white in this game, Judith?
Yeah, I would take Napo here. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But you're not, I didn't surprise you with that, I
no,
think.
no, just checking. Yeah. I
What
feel the
about
same.
you?
I feel the same. Yeah. Unless I had Magnus playing the black pieces with me, then I'd be happy to defend.
Then you're on the secure.
Okay, wow, a big decision actually from Nepomniachtchi.
Wow.
I mentioned that most likely you don't want to take on c4, but he's played it.
He does.
He does. And now, okay, we were completely wrong about the reason for bishop e2. We thought just repositioning the bishop on a better square, but now after
Well, actually, I think white is also a little bit better here as well. Rook
white can't be
e1,
worse, but yeah.
rook e1, and queen e2 next move.
Okay, so say queen f7 maybe, or queen d5, I'm not sure. Queen f7.
Well, whatever, queen e2,
Okay, and now black needs to improve the bishop.
controlling the e file,
Yeah, bishop a3 might be coming in.
extremely important. Bishop a5 or bishop c7?
I wanted bishop c7 originally, but bishop a3 is slightly annoying. Rook d8
Queen e7.
and queen e7 type of things. Yeah. Yeah, invading. Threat of queen takes f7 and rook e7 check. How about bishop a5 earlier, just to go pawn grabbing? Just to try and disrupt the queen e2, bishop a5, I guess. It's not even to pawn grab, I just want to tie down white slightly.
And to play b5 to secure your pawn on c4.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So,
bishop a3 is tempting, actually.
okay, bishop a3. Can I take on c3? So rook c1, I have rook e8.
Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah. Bishop d2.
Okay, bishop d2, what can I do?
Okay, b5, I guess, for black. And if the queens and rooks come off, black is very happy. But can white make use of this e file? Maybe f3, queen e6 at some point, or queen e4.
Well, then he might as well play f4.
Yeah, true. Push on the side you're stronger.
I don't know, maybe bishop b6 and c5.
c5, yeah. Sometimes just a quick a5, b4 as well. Okay, meanwhile, we're heading for this position.
Yeah, queen e2.
Yeah, queen e2 on the board. Now bishop a5 was our suggestion. What else simply? Bishop c7 looked a bit slow. Bishop d8, bishop a3 traps the black rook. Maybe black can just play a move like h6 and still solid, but bishop a5 looks pretty.
Bishop a5
Pretty
looks good because it makes the white bishop passive. I would like to have it on a3 and have the activity.
Yeah. And if white's forced to play a move like bishop d2, then definitely
Well, and
worth
it
looking in
is.
bishop a5.
Yeah, b5.
Yeah, b5. I think white has to push pawns. What else? f2 still hanging if the white queen moves, so f4 maybe.
Bishop c7.
Okay. Yeah, queen e4,
Queen e4, queen d5.
d5 always. Queen exchange if white's rook can't get in, if white's rook can't enter. Looks pretty nice for black. Yeah, looks like black solved all the problems. I think Magnus is going to be fine in this game.
Yeah, here it looks okay.
Okay, what if white plays slowly? G3. Oh, don't really want to, but I guess black just puts a queen on d5 anyway at some point. Maybe h6. Just
Well,
to give some
queen
lift.
e6 might be an option, right?
Yeah. I was wondering if black can just take the queens off and play rook f6 in that case. Just continuously harass the white rook until it leaves the black half. A bishop endgame.
Shouldn't be too bad for black, no?
Black's queenside majority is quite mobile as well, actually. a5, b4 later. Yeah, this looks fine too. Rook e7, rook f7, rook e8, rook f8, just keep chasing.
Okay, on bishop a5, you know what I do?
Okay.
I play queen e3.
Queen e3.
Because I want to have my bishop a3.
Okay, makes sense.
Now this bishop d2, I'm not happy with that.
Just a bad square, yeah, on d2.
So anyway, I want to have my bishop on a3 and possibly activate it all the way to e5.
Okay, so say
I have to go a little bit around,
yeah,
but it's worth it.
sometimes you need to take a detour. Okay, say b5 again.
b5, and after b5 already bishop a3,
Rook d8.
rook d8, and
Yeah. Bishop c5, maybe, just to sit.
bishop b6.
Okay. Yeah, an exchange of bishops probably fine for black. Yeah, I don't see how white makes progress really, because if you push kingside pawns...
Okay, I wait here. After rook d8, I start
Okay.
pushing my pawns.
Okay. G3, f4, okay.
Sorry, I'm doing it more aggressive
f4
than that.
that's good. Bishop c7 is... well, maybe.
Okay, g3.
G3. I forced you to...
You want me to play
to take
g3
the
so
slow,
much.
slow approach. a5, maybe? But then you might just sit on c5 with the bishop. Yeah.
Well, I don't know bishop
d6.
d6, but I think this can be dangerous for black takes and queen e5.
In major piece endings, it's always the king, right? And black's king maybe slightly weaker than the other. Rook d8,
f5.
f5, okay. Yeah, it's hard for black to ever play b4 now. Queen takes a5. h6, just... I mean, black should hold, but white's maybe still got a little bit of pressure. And meanwhile, just while the players think, while Magnus Carlsen has a think, I think we'll just take a very short break. We might invite a very special guest, so join us soon. Welcome back, everyone. We're joined here in the studio by Grandmaster Aryan, who's just finished second place in the Norway Chess Open. Welcome, and how are you feeling after this success?
It's great. It's a really strong tournament here, and getting second place is good.
Okay, how did the tournament go for you? Was it a bit up and down, or was it quite smooth sailing throughout?
It was really down, and then so I drew my first game, and then by fourth game I had 2 points. So I thought I'm not going to get even to the top 10 prizes.
Okay.
But then after last games I won almost everything, and in the last 3 games I won against 3 grandmasters, so it's good.
Okay, and Gukesh ended up winning. Were you impressed by his play?
Yeah, definitely. He played really fantastic, and against me he made only 3 draws in the whole tournament, and against such strong opponents, that's great. And maybe I could have. If I won against him, I have a chance to get the first prize, but the game was nowhere. I didn't get much chances to win, so the game was strong.
Okay, what have your experiences been like here in Norway? Is it your first time here?
Yeah, I'm in Norway for the first time. The place is really beautiful, and I would like to come back again. And I was staying here for quite a few days before the tournament started, and I was going about to the nearby places, and the place is really beautiful.
Okay, so in Stavanger and the surrounding areas?
Yeah, in surrounding areas, yeah.
What's been your favourite place sightseeing?
I've been to Vasai in the island, and the island is nice.
Okay, nice.
But usually you don't have too much free time when you play in a tournament, do you?
Yeah, but I came 10 days before here,
Oh.
so I was going around.
Did you end up in the quarantine or no?
No.
Just for
because
visiting
I
places.
tested negative, so there was no need for it.
And maybe we can ask your opinion here on some of the games, Aryan.
Yeah, sure.
Have you been following the Masters here, this section?
When
you
I
guys?
got time, because in the group that I played, there were double rounds in some days, and there was the Blitz tournament where you won.
I got lucky.
I lost to him, otherwise I had a full score.
Yeah. Yeah, so some of the games here, they're very tense. Here we see Magnus defending as black against Nepomniachtchi. Any thoughts on this position? Who would you prefer?
He just played h6.
H6 by
You were
Magnus.
suggesting.
A few months
something
before,
similar.
it seemed he was worse. But now
Magnus,
it seems good, yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you think? You also not sure about bishop c4 or the bishop e2 you didn't like?
Bishop c4 I don't like much. I think that keeping the bishop would be better. After bishop c4, dc4, I don't see. Yeah, now black seems to have got a lot of play here. And how is white supposed to improve now?
Well, I wanted to go bishop a3, push
and then
away the
rook,
rook,
rook
so you
d8.
go rook d8, and somehow possibly push my pawn f4.
But then the king also becomes weak when you go f4, g4, and gives black more chances.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not sure about g4 immediately, but with time.
Maybe you're just getting ready for an endgame, just g3, king g2, queen e4, king f3, just slowly.
Also, maybe it's possible to regroup and having queen move away and rook e5.
Okay, so he's made a move, it looks like.
Bishop a3 is on the
Bishop
board.
a3. Yeah, so
Rook d8,
rook d8
Yeah.
as expected.
and then f4.
So you think no real problems for Magnus?
Not
Bishop-
much,
no.
because I'll just keep playing waiting moves with black piece.
Yeah.
So what is the waiting move?
Just move rook, or
Third?
just move rook, keep moving rook.
Or you just move rook c8 or
Because I
somewhere?
don't think black can do anything active now, and the bishop on a5 I think has to stay there to keep pressure on the c3 pawn.
But you know, maybe he went h6 in order to play something like bishop e7, and after queen e7 kind of move well, not now,
Yeah.
but
Flip
let's
bishop
say
d2,
g3 or something, bishop c7, queen e7, then he can go rook f7, rook d7. So the king can go out
Yeah.
if it's necessary. I don't know.
Maybe we can also ask your opinion on the other game.
Yeah.
Very exciting game. between
Yeah, this is
Firouzja.
kind of...
This game was crazy. Oh, he's thinking for a long time here.
Yeah, I think he's thinking like, I don't know, half an hour?
Yeah.
I don't know for how long, but
He's nearly an hour down on the clock now.
But
He
you
sacrificed
have
the rook.
given a rook, you should have been prepared for this. But maybe he can play it over the board. Black's pieces are not developed.
For you, it's also new? You haven't
Yeah.
analyzed this?
No, I have not.
You're
I
not
don't play this
playing
opening.
this?
Yeah.
Neither of the color, yeah.
So with fresh eyes to this position,
Yeah.
what would be the first things that come to mind?
Bishop f4.
Bishop f4, yeah. I mean, we thought the same. It's hard to come up with anything else, really.
And what's black going to do now? I think e6 and bishop e7. What if e6 and bishop
Yeah,
e7?
d5 is losing, you know?
Yeah. I don't want to
To
open.
rook
I don't
d1.
want to give tempos more. I just play e6, bishop e7 and castle.
Okay.
Okay, but then after e6, I think
And then
takes
bishop takes.
rook
And then
d1.
rook d1. And then if castle, you can just take on d6 and rook d1 and take on a1. Even that is
Yeah.
winning
Yeah.
for you.
No, I think this is
Suddenly,
hopeless.
yeah.
No, I think after bishop f4, what did we look?
I think we were
Bishop-
considering bishop e6,
Bishop e6.
just so that we can take back on d6 with a pawn.
And after queen b7?
Yeah.
Queen
Now it is.
c8. Queen c8.
Yeah.
Yep. Now the knight gets out as well if you don't trade queens.
Yeah. Even if queen e4, that's bishop f5 and then knight c2.
Yeah.
You guys are greedy. You want to get back this knight.
Black is going to suffer for the development, at least have the rook.
Yeah. It's the modern way, right?
Yeah.
We've seen engines, they try and cling on and somehow survive.
But I don't know what's this. White has like 2 pawns for it.
And bishop is back. You'll take on c2.
Yeah.
But if I play e6,
Scary.
I'm never getting the bishop out.
Well,
Bishop on f8 is trapped there.
I don't know.
Yeah, now it looks pretty good.
For what?
For white.
For white, yeah, for white, sorry.
So I
I'm
think,
not that greedy. how about knight back to b4 last move?
yeah.
Sorry, instead of e6.
What do you do? Knight b4?
b4. I just want to get to safety and stop knight
Try
d5.
to sneak away with your knight. But
I-
I think you want to go bishop d3, I understand.
Maybe, but maybe rook d1 anyway. Yeah. Bishop e6 maybe. Just to hit c4 and to play e d6. Okay, maybe black surviving still.
Well, anything can be, I think, this
Still, yeah.
game.
I wouldn't be surprised if white was doing pretty well still here, but in the
Well,
current position, it's just
For sure, it's kind of unusual to sacrifice a rook and then think 40 minutes.
yeah.
And also the time control here is so short here.
Yeah.
No added time after move 40.
Yeah.
Just
What was the time control in the open?
It's the 130 plus 30.
Oh, okay.
It's a class
the whole
4 hours
game.
control. But here there's no increment.
yeah.
So what do you think about the Armageddon system?
I think it's a really nice idea because a lot of players just play to get a draw, and it's hard when you're facing such an opponent. But if you have an Armageddon, you're going to get a result. You don't have to be afraid of that.
And you play a lot of open tournaments. Do you think Armageddon is something that could be integrated into Swiss systems?
But
open
it's going to be
tournaments?
hard in Swiss systems because there are lots of players there,
Yeah.
and it will be difficult to get that. But if it happens, then it's really good because especially in the Swiss systems, when you're playing against much lower rated players and they have white pieces, we just play to simplify and draw.
Yeah. And the player's heading for some deep thinks.
We have a move between Magnus, Napo, and h4.
Okay, so pushing pawns, but not the one we
Yeah.
expected.
Because, I mean, it's not Magnus's style to do nothing, right? To go rook c8, rook d8. So he is going to be doing something. Though I don't know what is white's next move, let's say
Can
b5.
black go something b5 and then
Yeah.
bishop back a5, push on the queen side? But let's say bishop goes to c7 and then black gets a5.
You go first bishop c7?
I mean b5 and then somehow get bishop c7. But
Yeah, this is the question, generally speaking.
my point is, if black moves the bishop away from a5 and then gets a5, white will exchange the queen e6, and the c6 will be weak, possibly. The a5 bishop is the one that keeps white's queen or bishop under control.
Yeah, what's the idea as well behind h4? I'm struggling to see any direct purpose, just gaining space, but
Maybe
Other than
white, well, queen h3 doesn't make any sense, yeah? Because after that rook e8 or what?
yeah, rook e8, I think. Any exchange of queens or rooks only helps black. Maybe it's just that type of position that's completely equal and neither side really wants to do anything. It's not just black who's going to wait, it's maybe just g3 and sit.
Okay,
What is the
g3.
score now? Magnus needs to win. Right?
Magnus leads with 18 points.
Yeah.
Leads. Okay.
Yeah, and then second Rapport with 16 and a half. So actually, if Magnus makes a draw here, he has 19 before the Armageddon. If let's say Rapport wins, well, he has a rook up, yeah.
And an hour up.
So let's say he wins, then Magnus has to win
Yeah.
in the Armageddon, and then they make a playoff for the first prize.
The
to
scoring
decide.
system is totally different.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Even in the last edition, when there was Armageddon, it was I think 2, 1.5, and half.
Possibly.
Yeah, I think if you win in the normal, it's 2. In the draw, it's
I'm
1.5.
not sure.
And this time, it's completely different.
Was it different? Maybe.
It seems to have worked quite well this tournament, just in terms of just fairness and getting the players fighting and
This
Prioritising the
one,
classical.
this one gives more points to win than to draw.
yeah. Okay, Aryan, thank you so much for joining us. It's been really interesting. And what are your next plans?
I'm going to be playing in a tournament in Bulgaria next.
Okay, best of luck there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. We'll be back in a moment. Hi everyone, welcome back. And we've got another guest for you here in the studio. We're joined by Christopher Gressley, the chief arbiter of the open section and also the bar manager at my favorite place, the Good Night Pub in Oslo. Christopher, how's it been here in Stavanger for you?
It's been awesome. I've never been in a tournament before where there's been no problem at all.
Wow. Okay.
Except from the last guest. He was the only one that caused problems when he did an illegal move. But that's the only thing that happened.
Oh wow, really?
In a completely one position, if I may add. So he just he captured the opponent's black squared bishop with his white squared bishop.
Wow, he failed
Unexpected
to mention that to
move.
us. How did you deal with it? You had to step in. Did he realize his?
Yeah, immediately.
Okay.
And I mean, it's an illegal move. It's 2 minutes extra to the opponent, but in a completely lost position in standard chess, that's not going to help too much.
Okay, and a second illegal move, would that be?
That,
game?
yeah, that is a loss.
Okay.
But it was like 3 more moves, and then the opponent resigned.
Okay.
So
didn't change.
I mean, yeah, if you're in a complete one position, you let your guard a little bit down. But other than that, I have not been arbiter in a competition with so little hassle. It's been a pleasure from round 1 to round 10.
Okay. How did you first get into becoming an arbiter?
Well, it's basically that in a lot of chess clubs, I guess someone has to do stuff, and otherwise it doesn't happen. So I was one of those person that just did stuff and wanted to have tournaments, and we didn't have an arbiter, so yeah, sure, I'll do the arbiter courses then. Okay. And after that, I've been arbiting more and more and playing less and less.
Do you miss the playing though?
Not when I see how exhausted people are after 10 rounds. I mean, I'm a little bit tired as well being arbiter, but I mean, it's nothing compared to those droopy eyes after 10 rounds. So it's extremely fun to play, of course, but it's also nice to do arbiting and help people to play. Yeah. It was like 120 people in the tournament, and that's really. It's really nice to finally have an over-the-board tournament in Norway again.
Yeah. When was the last time you had an over-the-board tournament?
I think it was in like June 2020.
Okay.
So it's been a horrible year for chess in Norway, but now I think a couple of participants had a horrible experience because all the youngsters haven't played for 1.5 years, but just been blitzing out 1,000 of games. So you had youngsters rising 200 points in this tournament.
Wow.
And you had like old people losing the same amount. So right now I don't think I'm going to play this year. I'm just going to wait until the youngsters have passed me and then go back into playing.
Fair enough. Actually, we have a mutual friend, Askild, who was the top seed in his section.
Yeah.
He mentioned, he wants to make an age limit on only over 30s allowed. It's been a rough tournament for the old people and a brilliant tournament for a lot of the hopeful youngsters in Norway. Okay. And was this your first time, Mr. Banger? You've been here before?
Yeah, I've been watching the tournament like 3 or 4 times. So I've been here like half of the times it's been, and I hope I'm getting invited to Arbit Open tournament next year as well, when it's a 10-year anniversary for Norway Chess. That would be nice.
10 years. I'm sure the sponsors are listening now.
Yeah, I'm hoping to. They do.
You've made your pitch. Nice.
And can you tell us about how the COVID affected the chess pub?
Yeah, it's we've been closed more days than we've been open, and we haven't been allowed to serve beers and stuff. But the good thing is that in Oslo, people really love chess, and they really love to do other stuff than when they go out and drink. So we had a lot of the people coming back now. So. The good thing is that it's a really viable business in its own, even though I do it because I love chess, but it's a viable business. So now it's going to go back up, and we're going to hopefully be in surplus either this or next year then.
Okay, so you encourage all our viewers, if they're ever in Oslo, to come check out the good night?
Yeah, of course. It's worth, even if you're in Stavanger, you should just pop by and check out. It's like it's at least the first chess pub in the world where it's chess in all the boards and all the tables, and we have courses, tournaments, and lots of different chess events. I mean, we've had a tournament just with people not taking part in any clubs, which was bigger than the Norwegian Championships.
Wow.
So it's a lot of people that just sit and play on Chess24 and other chess sites where never having played over the board before, and they come and play against like people like Askild and being the top seed in the ELO group and crushes him. And yeah, well, I played like 120,000 games on Chess24 or other chess sites, so it's huge interest in chess in Norway. I mean, an example is that the Norwegian main channel, NRK, has like a market share of sometimes between 50 and 60%. Everyone of all people watching television are watching chess. It's insane.
Yeah.
And that, of course, helps with people playing on chess websites.
Yeah, and for the World Championship later this year, that's going to be the same, right? And
yeah, definitely.
Good night is going to be packed.
Yeah.
So how is it going? Let's say the World Championship match is going on, or Veikanze, or this Is there commentary, or you just have a screen that
Yeah,
you show
we have.
some
I mean, it's like
commentaries?
in that case,
Like,
it's
sorry,
like
is
a
it-
normal football pub.
Yeah, yeah. This is what
we
I
show
wanted
it
to
on the
say.
big screens, but we also have our own commentators in one room, so people can get comments from a grandmaster or a local chess. We had Simon Agdestein being there, Torbjørn Ringdal Hansen, and a couple of other grandmasters being there, and guests commentating in one room where people that are extra interested in chess can come. But most people just enjoy watching the NRK and watching how the arrow, it's like a saying in Norway, "Sjå på pila," look at the arrow, because that is telling you how the game is. So whenever that arrow, you have the same here, of course, I know that. And that is a big saying. And I mean, when in the pub, when the arrow moves from like 0 to 3 or something, it's a huge uproar. It's like someone scoring in a football game.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's during the World Championship, it's absolutely worth visits, if I may say so.
Yeah,
Maybe we should have a stream from there.
You're very welcome.
I know I'm going to be there a little bit during the World Championship,
Oh, okay.
if not every day.
Yeah, you have a stream yourself, I guess.
Yeah. And Kristoffer, you mentioned you've been here in Stavanger many years watching. Have you been following the tournament at all with Magnus this year?
Yeah, it's. I've been paying. I've been having one screen with the games from this tournament, and I can't have the games from my tournament on the screen, but I can have that web page. So I've been following, and it's been hugely impressive how Magnus has managed to win so many games in a row, and especially how he's managed to come out from really bad positions. So I really hope we get to see that in the World Championship match as well. That's we continue to have a Norwegian World Chess Championship, World Chess Champion. That would be great.
Yes, it would be. Yeah, Kristoffer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. I'll see you at the good night sometime.
Yeah, see you.
Okay, we'll be back in a moment, everyone.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, we're back, and the games are still in progress. They're still very tense. We've seen some moves from Alireza Firouzja, and I think that is the game that we're most excited about right now, Judith. What are you thinking about these developments?
Yeah, I mean, the knight took the rook, right? The rook was sacrificed by Alireza. After that, he was spending quite some time, and actually now at the on the board, after bishop e6, white took back the knight on a1. And so for now, white gave up an exchange, but he has great development. While the only problem for black is how is he going to develop with his pieces and castle and keep the material, extra material. But he played rook c8. And this is the position where Firouzja has only 40 minutes left and Rapport has 1 hour 40 minutes. So an extra hour he has, and he's not sitting at his table. It seems like he's kind of comfortable with his position. And really the question is whether white has enough compensation or no.
Instinct-wise, do you think Firouzja's done the right thing, taking on a1 and just giving black a timeout with an extra move with like rook c8? Does
Well,
white have enough compensation?
It's
Feels like
a
he has to be accurate
question.
still.
I think he may have enough compensation because, let's say, actually he can maybe just play b3,
Okay, defend c4.
defend c4, and still he's attacking the b7 pawn. I don't know if queen d7 is a good move here, because if black would be playing g6, let's say, I don't think it would be good because white can capture on d6.
Okay,
And if takes, then maybe knight g5.
yeah.
But also it's interesting whether knight d5 can be annoying and then bishop g5. So there are quite some issues for both colors, for both sides, I think. So b3 is one option. If not b3, but let's say queen b7, going very concrete, I think black's idea is to take on c4 with his rook.
Okay, gaining time against the f4 bishop.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if white has to take a timeout and move that piece, say bishop g3, what's black's next move? Queen c8?
I like queen c8
Yeah.
a lot.
Actually, the white queen doesn't have too many attractive squares to go to. Black still has to develop somehow, but no clear threats for white. So you're more tempted by b3 than queen takes b7.
Yeah, somehow I prefer rather not to give up that pawn. But for example, I don't know, what about knight d5?
Okay.
Defending the c4 pawn this way to block the e6 bishop.
Now, if black takes that knight, for example, you want to take out the pawn.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, if white's pawn gets to e6 now, it looks super scary. And
Yeah, that's not funny. But also white is trying to take capture on d6, right?
yeah, now you mention it, knight d5 looks quite appealing. What else could black try here? b5?
Well, maybe he can take on e5 and
give back some
maybe
material.
somehow rook c4 to give back. Let's say knight takes. And what about playing rook c4 takes and queen d5?
Yeah, interesting. So only a pawn up for black, but queen c7 still looks a bit scary.
What about playing f6?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm running out of ideas suddenly. Queen b8, queen d8, knight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I have to move the knight instead, then the black king can even hide on f7 if I didn't play queen b8 check. Say knight f3 or... well,
Yeah, then king
king
f7,
F7 and
definitely.
black suddenly...
Definitely, and then black is
G5
going to play g5 or
G6,
g6,
yeah.
bishop g7, and black is fantastic. So after
Okay.
knight d5, this can be the drawback of that. That after knight d5, captures on e5, and really to take on c4.
Yeah, interesting.
But I think things are very concrete here, and we have knight d5 on the board.
Okay, so this might become a real
Knight
factor
d5.
then. D takes e5 and rook c4 maybe. I was just wondering about b5, is this an idea? Or does white just reply with b3 and maybe b5 is too weakening for black?
b5 is interesting, and after c takes b5, you want to go simply d takes e5.
Yeah, and white's knight on d5 hangs.
Well, of course, we have to check
Still,
rook d1.
yeah, it's still super complicated. It always goes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no back rank tricks.
But maybe what about bishop d5, rook d5, and queen b6?
Okay, so knight takes e5.
Or, just to play for some tricks, queen c7. So you don't
Hoping
go
for
knight
knight takes
e5.
e5.
You don't go knight e5, right? Because of the back rank.
Yeah, but maybe rook takes e5 here.
Yeah, but there is no threat for the moment.
True.
So black might as well take, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, of course,
Still
I
unfair.
think, yeah, I think white has compensation, and maybe it's enough compensation, but black should be completely okay.
yeah. I mean, earlier we were talking as well about Firouzja, whether he was in preparation or not. I think by now we know he wasn't, but Rapport, there's a chance he might have been, right? Because he was playing very quickly up until this point,
Yeah.
not spending that much
But,
time.
but I'm not sure his. Maybe
Yeah.
he just understands it and he has a good feeling for it, and he doesn't see why Rook C8, Bishop E6 was kind of not so difficult.
Just
No.
process of elimination, right?
Well,
Nothing
yeah,
else
yeah,
looked-
exactly. I mean, in this position, it was very difficult to make another move. And the developing
Once you
move
see
is
D takes E5 is
yeah,
dodgy.
yeah. If you understand that D takes E5 is bad because the Rook D1, and he's in good form in this tournament. Doesn't matter that he lost against Magnus,
Yeah.
and then yesterday things work out badly. Did we missed some things? Not only there, you know.
In the Armageddon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There were some very bizarre.
was
Ooh,
a
there was
one-
serious
one-move
mistake.
win
Knight
as well.
F7.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to suggest
If
a
you just
different
think
move
so
order.
fast.
Bishop takes C6 and then
Yes.
95, but then yeah,
And then he
the
played
other-
queen D7, and
the
then
other
things.
order. Yeah.
It was one move. If he finds, then he wins that Armageddon.
And he's
Rapport.
probably winning the tournament Rapport. I mean, if he wins yesterday and then
It's only
wins-
half a
yeah,
point
it's only half a
extra,
point,
though.
actually. Yeah.
It's not
Either way,
such a
it's-
big difference. It's just by feeling, I think.
But
it's
then
huge.
Magnus would not be safe with a draw in this game, I guess,
Yeah.
today. So, yeah, Rapport. I mean, you could argue yesterday Armageddon he could have won. Magnus Armageddon earlier in the
Yeah.
tournament he could have won.
Yeah. So I think he's just simply still in a good form.
Yeah.
Just
And also,
not
peace imbalances historically when he was younger, he was quite good at handling these kind of really imbalanced,
messy positions.
messy-
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. He had the good nerves, understanding, feeling for that.
Yeah,
Also.
sharp tactically. So
Yeah, and he's
95.
just not backing up from these kind of positions. He says, "Okay, sharp into so what?
Yeah.
Show me what
bring
you
it
have."
on, Yeah. So knight D5.
So
Should
now
we
the
check-
question is B5 or D, what we were discussing. Check the other game, right?
Other game than this?
Yeah. Or you want other
I don't know. I
other
mean, there's
thing
so
to
many
check.
lines we could analyze this.
So
for
what do you
hours.
want, G6 or?
G6, I'm slightly afraid of your earlier idea. So
E
for
takes
example,
D6, yeah?
Yeah.
But what else if not B5 and not D takes E5?
Should we check D takes E5 because we didn't
Okay.
see a clear way for white there yet,
Yeah.
and then we'll check out the other games.
Okay, so D takes E5. Maybe Queen takes E5.
Queen takes. Okay, so stopping G6.
And after Rook C4, Rook D1.
Okay, but bishop takes D5,
Rook takes D5.
Queen C8. There's still some ideas of E6 or F6 with black. And still white has to be
Yeah, I
slightly
mean,
careful of
maybe
the back
just
rank.
you have to be a little modest with black for a few moves, but after that you say, I have some material up.
Yep. Exchange and a pawn.
No, I mean, this is great chance for Rapport to win the
Yeah.
game, the way Alireza played.
Yeah, and
Especially that probably he only had partly his preparation. I mean, maybe it's due to his young age that he's just, it's an interesting idea, let's go for it.
yeah. I guess you did similar things
Of
when you were a
course.
young player. Yeah. Me
You did too, no?
Yeah, plenty of times.
I
until
mean,
it was
how
drummed
can
out
you
of me.
resist something? It's such a big temptation to give up the rook, and you have some compensation, and it's so interesting. Why to stop yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
After all.
Exactly. Might as well try it while you're young. When you're too old, like me now, it's not brave enough to sacrifice a rook.
Well, somehow you lose belief in those things, right?
Yeah.
You burn
Become cynical.
yourself and you say, well, okay, it's interesting, but after all, maybe it's better to play on the solid way. And
There's
so
other
on.
approaches,
But I
yeah.
think it's very good when you're young and optimistic and you believe in these very special, unique, unexpected ideas. And you have to try it.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Probably
so-
probably it should be balanced, as the computer reset that after Queen D4 is 0, 0, 0. So objectively, it is not a mistake, right? Well, we'll see how it will work out for.
It's the courage in such a big
Yeah.
event, such a big
Yeah.
last round.
Yeah,
That's the thing
I
we're
mean,
most
it's.
impressed by.
I mean, he can win a lot, right?
True. Okay, so meanwhile, the Firouzja against Rapport game still super sharp. Maybe we can check out some of the others. We haven't been to Carriekin for a while. Should we just check in there?
Yeah, let's see that one because it's in the middle game by now.
So this one less relevant for the tournament standings, but still an interesting battle.
Yeah, let's see how the pieces are standing in this position. White wants to occupy the e5 square in some way or another. That's why he was even ready to go queen a1 to have this diagonal, right? And but he wants to bring his rook to c1.
Yeah, and also knight d3.
Knight
sometimes
d3,
comes.
yeah, knight d3 somehow to control the e5 square.
Yeah.
Also, in time to time, I think bishop h3 can be an interesting move to give some unpleasant pressure on the diagonal.
Yeah, actually this really reminds me of a specific line in the Queen's Indian where White's bishop is forced to d2 very early on, and then actually the best maneuver is often bishop c1 and back to b2. And Sergei's got this type of setup with White, this very thematic setup, but with an extra tempo. And yeah, here, do you think it suits Tari's style? He normally likes a bit more action than this. There's nothing direct for Black to do, really. You could push some pawns with Black, but you might weaken yourself.
Well, if you can push your pawns with Black, then it's Tari's style. But if it's possible to stop him doing so,
for example, g5.
yeah, but with the bishop on g2, I think g5 is not going to be so effective, is it?
No, and f6 just to control the white knights. Yeah, I mean, it could definitely rebound. Those squares around the black king could become weak, but...
Well, I think bishop h3 already now.
Yeah,
that
maybe.
can be.
Before black plays queen e6 or...
And I'm trying to get my bishop to f5.
Yeah, so h5, bishop f5.
Yes, definitely. After this move, bishop f5 is the move.
No way to evict that bishop.
So I don't know yet what is going to be my next move with White. I just like the bishop on f5 a lot.
Yeah, agreed. I think too hasty to push these pawns. The question is just what else for black? The knight in e4 looks pretty, but apart from that, does he want to play for a4 at some point, maybe? Maybe now? Will White just take that and cause black to
Yeah,
lose
I
a
also
bit of
think
time?
that he's going to take, but let's see what next.
Knight e5 would be quite a thematic way to try
Because
and...
now the c7 is not protected suddenly. What about takes? Takes, can black go something like this?
Yeah, c5 and
Or rook d1.
rook d1, getting very sharp, but black center maybe crumbling. Yeah, maybe a4 is a bit too soon.
Yeah, things can fall apart very easily for black.
Yeah, very tense, but who would you pick here if you had to pick a color?
I just don't see exactly how black is regrouping. So from White's point of view, I think it's easier to play.
Yeah.
Rook c1, my plan is knight e5, somehow simplify d4 pawn exchange for the c7. There is going to be an isolated pawn on d5. So I used to play it with black, these kind of structures. Not very often, but still. So with white I never played it, but maybe now I would pick a little bit, prefer white.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I mostly have experience from the white side of these types of positions.
So which one you take?
Black, no, white, yeah, of course. I would choose white, but just in the knowledge that probably it's equal, but just easier to play, I think.
Yeah.
Well, the plans are easier to understand.
What about c5? No, c5 is not possible. G7.
G7 is
Actually, maybe
yeah.
the prophylactic. That's the main idea
A1.
of queen a1, right? So c5 is not possible.
I think it's
because
just
it just takes,
Yeah,
and the pawn is under attack.
yeah. Yeah, it's just a much kind of more harmonious square on a1. Rather than
Yeah.
putting the white queen on e2 where it might get hit by a bishop or on the e line. Just, yeah, queen a1, a nice maneuver from Karyakin, and he's very familiar with these ideas. I mentioned the Queen's Indian, and he's been playing
Yes.
that from the black side his whole life.
Yes.
And so he'll be very familiar with this pawn structure. Okay, which game to go to now?
We have a move actually to Rapport. If you just jump back there, d takes e5 was played.
Okay.
So probably Rapport has
Some
this
ideas of-
idea that eventually to capture, simplify on c4 and grab the d5 knight.
So let's say
Knight
knight takes.
e5, so let's wait, what's the next move?
I was briefly wondering about f6 here.
I was just thinking
were
about
thinking too.
that. I say, should I dare to say it? Is it not losing immediately?
Looks very shaky, but can white play a
What
move
about
like...
knight g6?
Yeah, like knight g6.
I mean, this is the first thing we have to see, right?
Yeah, so
It's
hitting
kind of funny that if white knight reaches to a8, so those are the corner are the location for the knights in this game.
Yeah,
So
and
it takes,
this might lead to a
takes.
perpetual check. Right, white can
That
force a
would
draw.
be funny.
All that work for a draw. Queen f5 check and repeat. I don't know if white can play on here actually.
Not rook e1. I mean,
e1.
why to bother?
Queen e8, try and play for the win.
No, but after queen e8,
more
I
draw.
think I go queen f5, maybe d6,
Yeah, d6,
e5.
e5, but can you play rook takes e5? No, rook takes e5.
Rook takes
Queen
e5, queen
takes
takes e5.
e5, yeah.
And this back rank is all the time.
Finally comes back to haunt white. Yeah.
Okay, and it's over. So perpetual check.
Most likely. I mean, you're a rook down, so. Okay, so how about if h takes g6?
Right
Our
now.
producer signaling to us on the screen that maybe an option here.
And after queen e6,
And rook c6, just to kick away the white queen.
rook c6,
This
that's
would make
logical.
a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I guess f7 has been created for the
Oh,
black
yeah.
king. So
It
say
seems
queen-
like black is winning already here, no? King
queen
f7,
e4, king f7, yeah.
or queen e4, king f7.
Yeah, I mean, unless we're missing something here, it looks pretty good for black. Rook d1.
No, I think this is
still-
over.
You think it's over? Yeah.
I think it's over. I mean, rook d1, queen c8,
Yeah, no more.
right? It's such a stable king setup.
Yeah.
Well, f6.
Okay, f6. Wow. Will take some nerves, some calculation, but that line wasn't too difficult, I guess, after knight g6.
Yeah, no, this is something that Rapport would find
You
immediately.
think, yeah.
Takes and rook c6.
Yeah. So, what else could give black pause then after f6? What might make
Well,
him
actually, if white has to go back, probably he might just continue with king f7.
think? Okay, king f7. Rook d1, I guess.
Rook d1.
Yeah, maybe knight d4. I'm not sure what the best way to attack that bishop is. Or rook e1. Not sure. Just want to move back.
I don't want to, but I have to.
Yeah, taking on d5 is much less appealing there, right? Because white
Well,
will get
no,
a
we don't want to
huge
give
square.
up the white squares like that. No way.
Yeah.
This is not something black would be aiming for.
Bishop
So
d7.
after f6, knight f3.
Yeah, I like king f7 somehow. Just
Well, that's kind of the most
Tucking it away.
natural at first, right? Actually, after rook d1, probably bishop d5,
and if cd5.
queen d7,
Okay, just protect everything. Knight d4.
knight d4.
Yeah, now it's okay. White won't give checkmate, but it's positional compensation, right? Just put the
Yeah.
knight on e6 and just create a bind. Maybe some threats against the black king much later on. Maybe this is what Firouzja has to hope for. This type of scenario, but either way, yeah, the clock is a big factor. He's going to be material down now for sure. Rapport, do you reckon he's also considering rook takes c4?
I'm sure he's considering that as well. Because it is also something to consider seriously, right?
Yeah.
So after takes with the queen, actually we looked queen d5, but I think bishop d5 should be taken consideration.
So you don't
Or
mind giving
no.
up the a6 pawn?
No, maybe
Yeah.
no, because we have to give up the a6 pawn. Okay, so this is not good. We took with the queen.
At least now queen a4 check, this queen b5.
Yes.
Yeah, and even if white somehow wins a pawn back after the queens disappear, black will have the two bishops. playing for 2 results, I guess, this one, if the queens come off.
Yeah, I mean, f6 can be, if black continues with f6 and king f7, then absolutely it can be.
Sometimes continue with g5 first as well, and bishop g7.
True. So after queen c7, we thought f6.
It feels so close for white, but just not quite quick enough
But
to
this
bring in.
e6, you know in which kind of positions it reminds me? The 2c3 Sicilian.
Ah, okay.
In there are positions like that, no?
Yeah.
That you give up a pawn, you have compensation, black makes the best move, and then it's not enough.
Yeah, and then somehow it fizzles out to a draw.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, actually a very specific line of the c3 Sicilian looks exactly like this.
Very
right?
similar,
yeah,
no?
Yeah. The knight f6 lines with, yeah. Okay, so rook c4 as well.
So f6 or rook c4? What do you think? What will be the move?
I guess f6 is more ambitious, right?
f6.
Just because you keep onto your material. The other
So
one
how
gives
do you
back
play
some.
after all?
Yeah. So king f7 we've looked at briefly.
Rook d1.
d1. There's no threat
But
for
what
white.
about rook e1?
Yeah, rook e1. Rook d1 there was no threat, right? Because yeah, you're eyeing up the black queen, but you're pinned. So
Yeah. After rook
E1.
d1, what? Queen bishop d7? Simply?
Mhm.
Which actually a possibility after rook d1 as well, by
True.
the way.
Although it feels slightly counterintuitive to walk into a pin somehow.
Yeah.
I don't see a way to take advantage, but maybe just bishop e3 or something here. Ah, but then bishop c6. No, bishop c6. You have to worry about knight e5 type of ideas sometimes.
Yeah, this looks something that
Yeah.
it's not exactly what we are looking for.
But maybe black can just
No,
after
but
rook
bishop,
d1,
after bishop c6, queen f5 looks
Queen f5
also
first,
pretty
yeah.
nasty.
creating those threats. Yeah. And now definitely not king g8 because of queen e6 mate.
Is there any other move, by the way, instead of f6 and rook c4, or only, or Rapport has to be choosing from these two?
I guess we're kind of just influenced by looking for forcing moves. When
I mean, let's say
we're
what
attracted to
happens if
those two.
g6.
Okay. Let's say now rook d1.
Rook d1.
Maybe threatening knight f6 check. Not sure yet, but could just play bishop g7, I guess. And if knight f6, you probably take with the pawn.
Yeah.
Rook d8, and who's better?
Not white.
Not white.
Not white, I believe.
Yeah.
With the two bishop, black goes f5 and stuff.
Yeah, rook d1 will.
It's okay. What do you think
Pins
about
it.
g6?
Yeah, g6. Bishop g. No, not bishop g5.
If rook's d1 and here bishop g5?
Yeah. Does black take on d5 now? But then it's a bit scary. Queen c7, rook d7.
Yeah, that we don't want with black.
Definitely not.
But maybe black,
Queen b6.
Queen b6.
Knight.
Knight f7.
Somewhere. Is there a finish after knight f7, king f7?
Well, takes rook
Rook
d7.
d7.
I'm not sure we want to check this for too
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. Okay. True.
It's not
So,
the
how about?
nice stuff.
Yeah.
Though after knight f7 you can castle maybe.
Oh yeah. How about knight g6 as well, maybe?
Knight g6, queen e6.
Ah, okay. The tricks continue.
Oh, absolutely. I think in these kind of positions there are only tricks.
Purely tricks. Yeah. And queen takes e6, fe6 hits the white rook. So, wow. Okay, g6. Maybe
Well,
possible.
I'm not crazy about g6 though.
It does feel like it's inviting some.
Yeah, it's
Knight
like
f7 or
you
something
think
at
you
some
can do
point.
anything, right?
Also, how about rook e1? No. I just want to get some knight takes f7 tricks on the board.
Yeah, I
e1, but-
understand. But maybe bishop d5, no?
Mhm,
Starting
maybe
with
now,
bishop
yeah.
d5. C takes the bishop g7,
Yeah.
queen check.
Yeah, it's still not over.
But even king f8, I'm not sure it's such a big deal for white. Goes out,
run.
h6 or h5, and king h7 in the next moves.
Okay. b5 a threat as well,
Yeah,
forcing white to retreat.
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so I think there are many options for Rapport.
Yeah. At least 3
And
candidate moves.
it seems like all 3 moves which we look, they are quite okay for black, right?
Yeah.
Or we can
To say the
even
least,
say, yeah, that he's playing for a win in all parts. So there is a big chance for Rapport, actually.
Yeah, and Magnus, he'll be having one eye on that game, because if Rapport wins, then Magnus will have to at least win the Armageddon in order to tie up the scores.
Yeah.
So, wow, okay, Rapport, he led most of the tournament, even with Magnus's 4-game winning streak. It's not over, right? That's
Yeah. So let's see what happened, because we haven't visited this for quite some time. Not much happened, though. So after h4, this is where we stopped, I think, and black played king h7.
similar to Sergei's
Yesterday, yeah, you
king
also.
h7 move.
Yeah, which is.
You didn't like it yesterday. Do you like this one more?
I don't know.
King h7.
I don't know what to say on this king h7, but on the other hand, it's understandable that he has to do something, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't look something that it worsens black's position at all. Once, let's say, the queen if it goes to g6, it kind of looks okay.
Yeah.
Rook e2. What's the idea behind this move?
Maybe he doesn't want bishop takes c3 to come with tempo in some
Yeah,
lines.
this is what I also think.
Over defending f2, I don't. Maybe just a waiting move, just a pass.
Yeah, queen f5,
Okay, so hinting
queen
at some,
c1.
hinting at queen b1 checks. So queen c1 stops queen b1, but
And obviously he wants to go rook e5. So black went rook d5, and it's white to move. So white controls the e file, right, which is very useful and very nice. But what can he do with it?
yeah, it's not clear. I mean, rook e7 would be the first question, I
That's
guess.
definitely the first question, but now black can go maybe bishop d8.
Okay.
This wants to be the idea, if takes and takes an important h4 pawn, right? And queen on f5 actually stands pretty well. It blocks the bishop from going to f8, and also it blocks this diagonal, so white is not giving all kind of unpleasant checks.
Hitting f2 as well, yeah. The queen.
Yeah, now hitting on f2, and also the rook on the 5th rank, it can be useful on g5 or h5. So this probably could be simply dangerous.
Yeah, I was also going to ask about rook b5 being an idea for black after, say, rook e7, but bishop d8 looks nice.
Yeah, so for the moment it seems that white cannot go immediately rook e7.
But this idea of rook b5, though, is annoying.
Ah, and rook b5. This is what you want.
This might be another idea. I mean, I was trying to figure out earlier why Magnus was delaying playing b5 himself. Maybe this is one avenue he wants to use for the rook.
Very interesting. So, okay.
Already hard for white to come up with a move other than rook e7.
Well,
The white queen looks just terrible.
what about playing f3? Is it very awful?
Okay.
My plan is to go rook e4,
Okay,
somehow to block the queen.
that's a good square. Now can black reroute the bishops?
Queen d3? No.
Queen d3, rook e3, I guess.
Yes. So what do you do?
Bishop c7 just
Bishop
to
c7.
put it on g3 if possible somehow.
Bishop c7, queen e1. I'm not crazy about f3, I have to
sure.
admit, but I like that I have my rook, so the battery is switched.
Queen f4.
Ooh.
I'm giving you b1, but I don't think that's...
No, this looks bad, no? I'm sorry, this was a misunderstanding.
Yeah, it's not easy for Nepomniachtchi suddenly. Magnus has been spending a lot of time, but it looks like a decent investment.
Well, I was thinking, what do you think about playing bishop c5?
Yeah, just trying
Blocking
to
the rook.
persuade me to play b6. To
Yeah, and if you could play b6, then already I come
Drop
back, let's say.
okay. Now maybe let's try this idea of rook b5 to see whether it's...
After rook b5, I just
Effective.
want to go back.
Okay.
I have to defend myself
Queen
somehow,
D3.
right? Queen D3, bishop B2, rook B2.
Suddenly it feels like black's, I mean, even if white can rebuff this kind of initiative suddenly, it feels like black is the one who's got more ideas, more active ideas.
No, now it's kind of dangerous for white if he is not paying attention. Queen D3, right? Rook B5. Both can be very unpleasant
And like you
in
said,
the
bishop,
right moment.
yeah, bishop D8 sometimes, bishop C7 sometimes.
No, rook D5 is a very powerful, multifunctional move.
Yeah.
I think black improved his position quite significantly, having his queen on F5. Very great domination with the queen.
Yeah.
So actually all the pieces on the 5th rank, they are performing very well. Being ready to go bishop C7 with the bishop and D8. With the rook he can go to B5, sometimes to G5, H5. And the queen also looks to G4, D3, B1.
Judith, he's played the move that you suggested, and then
Is it good for him?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, F3. Okay.
I don't know, but it looks like rook E4 kind of stops many of the problems, but it gives extra strange weak square for the black bishop.
Yeah, so we were
So
slightly
you played,
concerned
what
about
did you go?
bishop C7.
You played bishop C7,
Maybe just rook E4 anyway,
rook E4, bishop G3,
just to play rook G4 and kick
rook
it out.
B5.
Ah, okay. Ugh, bishop B2.
Well, well, well.
For now, even just bishop D6 and
I mean, this is exactly what you don't want with white, right?
yeah, I mean, tied down, threats against the king suddenly. I thought the whole point of this opening variation is that white's king is always slightly safer than black's, but
And you never
Here it's
want
not
to
the
have
case.
your bishop on B2.
of course,
I mean, black is just, I think, goes back to D6. I mean, black should be not worse for sure.
yeah, so,
So
F3.
F3, bishop C7. What about the queen E1? What did you play?
Ah, okay. Queen E1, queen F4,
Yeah, this is where we stopped.
unless there's queen B1 check.
Okay, let's say king G8.
Queen G6.
No, rook E8 now and check.
Ah, yeah, rook F8.
Ah,
Just-
okay, so queen F4 you don't have,
Yeah,
because after rook F5, G4.
G4, yeah. And
Okay,
Not enough
so
checks.
so this is something extremely important. It's by one tempi, right?
Yeah.
Because if next move rook E4, then white stabilizes, controls the squares, important square, also this one, and has the active bishop on A3 still.
okay, so maybe bishop C7, if it can't sneak into G3, maybe we don't rush with it.
So what do you do?
Good question.
If rook B5, rook E4,
Yeah,
then
queen D3, rook E3. So white is
yeah.
using his rook to shut the door.
No, I think actually there was no other move than F3. That's the feeling I have. Otherwise, white is
Otherwise-
almost worse.
Yeah, yeah. If black wants to just play safe, would bishop B6 and C5 be an idea?
It seems to me a little bit slow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm reluctant to suggest it, but just a safety first approach.
But it has a lot of sense.
I mean, you could also argue for starting with B5, but if Magnus has delayed B5 already, then he probably doesn't want to rush with that move. So, for example, rook E4.
What about rook E4, C5?
And if everything comes off on C5, probably just level.
Well, yeah, it's no big deal, right? Why should be black worse
Yeah,
at all?
slightly weaker king, but no way to get at it for white.
I'm not even sure that the black king is so much weaker than the white.
As
I
long
mean,
as
after
black's queen
F3
stays on
and
his diagonal.
H4, the white king cannot represent safety.
Yeah, no.
No?
Fair enough.
Bishop B6. If queen e3,
Okay, c5.
also c5.
D takes c5, rook takes c5.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, and
c5.
some threats along the diagonal against white's king. Now you're definitely right, f3 has weakened the white king.
No, I mean f3, of course, it has its ideas, but it has its drawbacks too.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely, it's tricky. I mean, it's very sharp. So we can't say that Nepo is just playing a little better and he can go back and forth.
Yeah, none
It's
of
not
that.
the kind of position that you just simply go back and forth and just one-sided.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that bishop takes c4 move, objective strength or not. I mean, he hasn't found a way to back it up, giving up his bishop pair. I think if you ask Nepo right now, he would love to go back to that moment where he had the two bishops and just to sit a bit longer.
I would also think so.
Yeah. Okay, so still no moves in the Rapport game. Still spending his huge time advantage there. Magnus. I just wonder how much his decisions will be influenced by that game if he sees Rapport
f6.
over the next few moves. Okay,
f6.
he just played f6.
f6 is played.
Okay, so one of the three candidates that we were considering.
Yeah.
And okay, so still a huge time advantage, extra 35 minutes on the clock for Rapport. So we were thinking about white's knight moving back.
Yeah, because
Moving
knight
to
g6
g6.
was not good, right? Because
well,
the
it looks-
simple takes, and rook c6, and then black is just clearly having an advantage. And so the main question is where the knight moves back, to d3 or to f3. Of course, f3 is the more logical move,
And he's played it, actually.
and
just
he
as we-
played it, yeah. So
as
now
we
the
mentioned.
question is he going to take on d5 or play king f7? Is there any other move to consider? What
Bishop
about
f7,
bishop
or
d7
bishop
or bishop
d7?
f7?
Quite like bishop f7 somehow. Just,
And after rook d1, what do you do?
yeah, this is the issue. It's a nice square for the bishop, but there's
Queen
big
a5,
threats.
b4.
And then you know what I want to suggest
I
there,
think
Judith.
b4.
B4, queen a4.
You're still kicking.
Still, well, I'm not sure I want to be kicking in this position exactly, but at least asking a question of white's rook.
No, I mean, it is
still-
possible that easily, no?
Yeah, but there's still knight c7
Okay.
and knight b6 in the air.
Queen goes back to e2.
Okay. Yeah, and eventually it feels like black will have to capture on d5. At least I can do my favorite thing,
And
pawn
after
grab.
takes? Yeah, I shouldn't ask you. You just take that.
I mean, at this point I feel honor bound.
Yeah,
I mean, also
we are
this-
getting to know each other
Yeah.
this way. Okay, when it's
It's taken
pawn
a while,
there,
but-
it's just, I'm
Maybe-
not going to ask you anymore.
Yeah, deal. Actually,
Okay.
maybe black should be playing queen
And
c2
bishop
instead of
d5
grabbing.
is on the board.
Okay.
He just swapped the knight. C takes d5. Things are speeding up. So now the big question is, what black wants to do? How is he going to be handling the e6 weakness, and the white can maybe reach out with his knight to e6? Then it seems like he has enough compensation. So how is he going to handle it? Is it queen d7 or something?
In order to meet knight d4 with... Yeah, knight
With
e6
what,
is-
yeah?
Yeah, this is the issue. You've got... Because, for example, rook d8, knight e6, there's always
Or
knight
rook
c7 check
c5,
fork,
also
yeah.
knight e6.
There's always knight c7 check forks in the air. Okay, so black's got two moves essentially before white's knight gets to e6. How do we spend those two tempi? He must
Well,
have an idea if he's
Let's
taken
see.
immediately.
Let's say I just go queen d7 to block this thing, and I go g6.
Okay,
You go, let's say, knight e6, king f7. Okay, you have a beautiful knight,
yeah.
but still there is a material disadvantage for white.
Rook e1.
Okay, fine. I go b5,
Okay, h4.
h4.
Just
How
ignore
about
your rook c4 move.
Well,
Maybe I
okay.
can play b3, but okay, queen f3. So Maybe you can play bishop g7.
White has compensation, yeah.
It's long-term compensation.
Yeah, bishop g7, h5,
Yeah.
rook c8. I mean, I don't think black is in danger, but it's a big question if he can win. So going back, is there any option to block and stop the knight d4, knight e6 plan?
So,
What about playing rook c5 now?
okay, rook c5. Ah, okay, so now knight d4, not
Knight
at all.
d4, queen d5,
Yep.
right? So this is not possible.
So rook d1, I guess. d6 feels too soon. Oh, there's a fly in the studio.
Yeah.
So,
Rook d1,
rook d1, yeah.
e5.
I was trying to get this in another variation, but I couldn't make it work. And now you've got it in. Okay.
Because of the pin.
Because of the pin, yeah. Okay, and there's no way for white to sacrifice here. I guess it feels too ambitious. Bishop b3 just looks...
You can't sacrifice and you cannot take
Yeah.
anything. What an awful situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I go back, and if I can go bishop e7 or bishop d6, then probably I
it's
might
over.
have a huge advantage. You can still go knight d4, and then probably I would be going something like queen d7,
Yeah,
with the idea just to develop
play
with
around the
bishop.
knight. Yeah, queen g4.
I mean,
just
black should be
g6.
okay, right? Here, g6, after that, king f7, bringing the rook, and the e6 knight will be not enough.
No. Yeah, if black gets e5, it feels like he should consolidate. So rook c5? that
What
could be
about
a key move.
d6?
Yeah.
e5 anyway, I think.
Okay, and if white, for example, I say we grab on b7 first.
Oh, that's possible.
So e takes f4, I want to play rook e1 check.
Well,
Bishop takes,
that we will not allow.
no, for sure. Bishop takes d6, I think I can take
Queen
on g7.
g7.
Yep.
This is also not something I want to have. What about queen takes d6?
Yeah,
And also there is another move, queen d7.
queen d7 as well, yes. This one's especially annoying maybe because the bishop is hanging and definitely white can't afford to lose too much time or trade the queens off, so yeah, d6, e5 looks very strong, unless, how about bishop takes e5 in this position?
Here?
After e5,
Yeah, bishop e5, after that
knight
takes.
takes,
Knight takes, and I wanted to go...
queen takes d6. No.
Queen f6, queen d6, you go here.
Okay.
So eventually
Another
the
knight in the corner.
knight in the corner.
It was always destined to happen. Bishop e7, knight takes
Yeah,
h8,
bishop e7, knight h8.
and say white, black plays g6. It's going to be hard to trap that knight though.
Yeah, this is very funny.
White's queen
Okay,
is
so
going to
knight
be strong.
e5.
Yeah, because queen f6 with knight g4 check. Bishop takes d6, there's knight c6 check. All the discovered
Bishop
attacks.
e7 is not good, is it?
Bishop e7. I don't see the mate though. d7 check, king f8 survives.
Yeah, this,
Maybe.
and after queen f5, bishop f6,
Six,
knight
knight
g6, takes.
Even this position is hard to evaluate, to be honest, but
I think black is
You think
fine,
black
but
should be fine,
white
yeah.
has compensation, even if you just go rook d1.
yeah, rook d1, king h7, rook d3 sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, so rook c5 is a move, queen d7 is a move.
So rook c5 needs a lot of calculation, that's the thing, after d6.
By the way, after rook c5, d6, what about simply king f7?
Okay, and queen takes b7.
Rook c5 is on the board.
It's on the board, okay. Sharpening things up, Rapport. And what do you think? d6, because rook
What do
d1.
you think? Probably the computer says 001.
Do you want me to check?
No,
No.
no, it would just destroy our move.
We don't need to know. Yeah. I mean, in the players' minds, they probably know it should
They
be
don't
for
know
some-
it also either.
You hear them in interviews, though, the players nowadays, they're saying, oh, it's probably 0.0, but...
Yeah.
And then they reel off these long variations.
Yes.
And, yeah, so, I mean, those are the two candidate moves, right? Rook d1 and d6.
Yeah, because knight d4 is not possible, and actually rook c5, this is why it's so essential, and this is why this is the critical move.
Yeah.
So this is the first move you should check, right, if you're playing with black, how to stop the knight from reaching to e6, because after that, then probably white has compensation. The only question is whether it's enough
Yeah.
or not too much. But if it cannot reach to e6, then black can keep the exchange up, and he should be much better.
Yeah, and Rapport, he's not that materialistic. I think if his opponent has nice positional compensation, he wouldn't be 100% happy. So I guess it's not too surprising he wants to force the issue with rook c5. Okay.
Okay, what do you think? Let's go to...
Yep.
Sorry,
No,
I
no.
just want to change for a second
Yes.
for Nepo's game, because your idea with bishop b6, but somehow he had time to play b5 as well.
Okay.
Because he didn't bother with this rook e4, he went b5, which is also tempting to play.
True.
Especially that after rook b5, anyway rook e4, and there would be nothing. So, but how nicely he does, no? He
Yeah.
didn't play b5, he played rook d5, and once Nepo played f3, weakening his king's side, then already he goes b5, because
Switches
rook b5 is not important anymore, rook e4, and now he goes bishop b6. All these nuances.
Yeah.
What,
That's what makes him so good. All
yeah.
these top players. So bishop b6, it's not just c5 as well, maybe also a5.
a5 and b4, yeah, a5 and b4.
Yeah, so not even a one-dimensional plan.
Okay, so what can white do about it?
Queen e3, maybe still c5, right?
Yeah, but I have the feeling that it's going to be a draw this game, because with
Okay.
c5 and simplifying.
But rook takes c5.
Rook c5, I know that you want to go rook c5 again and again. So what about takes, and rook d4?
Yeah, but is this queen endgame so simple for white?
No, I don't know, anything
Inside
can
pawn majority.
happen.
Okay, so I can even start with b4.
I think it's
potentially
very
here for
hard
black.
to win for black, because the king.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's no, still takes a while to get the c pawn running. Yeah. It's possible.
Yeah,
Magnus has won more difficult endgames than this.
okay, but I didn't ask if he's going to win.
No,
I asked
okay.
if it's winning.
Sure, okay.
The two is not the same.
I'm getting carried away. Yeah, queen c2.
No, I mean, he
Yes.
had a nice queen endgame against Tari,
Against
right?
Tari,
Where
yeah.
he simplified to winning rook,
He
queen endgame.
calculated quite well, some
Yeah.
pawn race.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe white, if white doesn't allow
But is it actually bad for white?
queen endgames, I've learnt to give up and trying to evaluate sometimes. There's so many checks. How would it not be bad for white? I guess you want to go king towards the pawn or away,
Yeah.
away from the pawn?
I
C3?
know, it's strange. c3 and come with the king. So I want to simplify with queen,
Queen
e4.
e4. That's a threat right now. Queen, yeah, queen b1.
Queen b1, king e2,
Maybe,
or queen b1, sorry.
yeah, just to take the a2 pawn maybe on the journey.
Okay, here.
Ah, but then you go to e3. Yeah. Unless, yeah, I know, I was going to say unless we can block some checks with king h8 with queen g8 later, but the white king's so near now that
yes.
No
But
way.
let's see, bishop b6, and now Nepo is on move.
so queen e3 one move, queen e1 or something similar. The white king could move.
Well, of course, white can go queen e1 or something. And after c5, he simplifies, right?
Just take everything off. Yeah. And as you mentioned, a draw is quite a likely result here.
Yeah, something like this. a5.
a5. Yeah. I would slightly rather be black, to be honest, just because the plan is clearer
Yeah,
with the queenside pawn push, but
I completely.
it's not
understand your positive feelings towards Black's position.
Yeah. I mean, I know it should be a draw here, but ease of plan is quite nice to have in this type of scenario. So
no, Black has a great game here. No?
yeah, he solved all his problems.
Yeah, all his pieces are optimally placed.
Yeah, true. And a5 or c5 is automatic on the next turn.
Yeah, that
So
if Black is reaching out to a5, b4, then
then yeah, Magnus will be happy. So
but maybe he also says that, okay, Rapport may win his game. So he says, I want to win my classical.
yeah, exactly. 5 in a row though, that would be
I want to press Napo with Black as well.
gain even more rating points.
Though he has such a huge lead in rating points, I don't think he needs a bigger distance from number 2, right?
Trust me, he
What,
wants
he's 50?
It's around 50 at this point, I think. I can check.
It's still a prestige for him to gain even more rating points to have bigger distance from number 2?
For sure. Actually, I remember just a while back, Magnus, he was watching Fabiano's games. Fabiano was playing a classical tournament, the Grand Chess Tour, and Fabiano dipped below 2800, and that evening Magnus Carlsen, I think he made a tweet, and he was very happy about the only 2800, being the only 2800 player, so it's definitely still on his mind.
He's very
he lost
happy,
his
no?
patterns,
Yeah.
he lost his numbers, he lost his...
okay. But I think he lost his position too now. Looking at him.
Yeah. I mean, this is the most he could have hoped for after that opening. Black, and yeah, right now the difference is 55 points, more than 55 points ahead of Caruana.
On the live rating.
On the live rating list, yeah. And we should also...
Rapport is number 8.
Yes, and Firouzja for the first time has crept into the top 10. So if he doesn't lose today, Firouzja...
But maybe not for long.
Maybe not for long, yeah. So if Firouzja doesn't lose today, he'll be top 10 in the world. And
well, even if he would be out, I mean,
yeah,
it is very clear that he belongs there.
Yeah, it's a matter of time.
So even if he's out, he will be there for a long time probably once he stably gets to top 10.
No, it's clear with his sacrifice today, this opening, that he doesn't care about the ratings. He just wants to
But
play
I think
and try and win the
that's the way
tournament
to do it. In his case, he's so young and talented and passionate and has everything.
Okay, we see...
Bishop e7.
Yeah, just that flamboyant
Well,
hand
I
gesture.
think, I think by now he's asking for Black to play c5, simplify and draw. But what about rook e5?
A nice way to get the rooks off the board. Can White ignore that?
Bishop queen e3 or something?
But even this type of endgame is...
Okay.
Even if Black takes on e4, it's still not...
Yeah, but after
think
takes,
so.
pawn takes, I think.
Okay, you want to keep the queens on, yeah.
Yeah, but no, that was only rook e5 for fun. But what is
quite a fun
bishop e7, right?
Yeah, so
If
a5 is...
a5, he wants to go a3, you think?
Wow, okay, possibly, yeah. It is slightly scary to allow b4.
Or does he want to go queen e3?
Yeah, so b4 you just take it.
Yeah, b4 probably he just wants to grab.
Yeah, and there's no tactics here against d4. Not that I see, at least. Okay, so after queen e3, maybe back to the c5 plan.
What is the real problem? Sorry, c5 simply. Yeah, but after c5, I think it's just drawish. That's it.
But as you mentioned, Magnus, he will be keeping one eye on the other game. There's no rush with c5, right? So
I just simply think that he doesn't want to simplify because he thinks it's me who is playing.
Yeah. a5. I think he'll
He
play
played.
a5.
I also believe that he's going to play a5.
We can see on the camera there, actually, Magnus, he's looking up at the big screen. He's
You
just,
see?
he's not even...
See, he's one eye on that game.
He knows he can simplify with c5 at any moment. He knows
Yeah,
he
but
can-
at the same time, it's also difficult to play the way that you can get into. For example, after a5, maybe White goes queen e1, and after c5 now, rook e6,
Okay.
attacking the bishop on b6.
Yeah. I'm so tempted to suggest c takes d4 and some kind of pawn rush, but I don't...
It's not your bishop, yeah? It's
not
not
my
your
bishop.
bishop. You're ready to give up.
I don't know whether I'd play d3 or d takes c3, but actually rook e5 last move as well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
And this looks like trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay, so rook e6 is also not possible.
And if you can get a5 on the board for free, then before deciding about c5, then it makes some sense.
And what about rook e5?
Yeah. e5, black will take, I guess. That's a lot of queenside pawns. I guess you have to keep the queens on now with white.
Yeah, I was planning to keep the queens.
b4. B pawn versus e pawn, which is quicker. b3. It looks like black is quite quick.
No, the queen on f5 is so awful from white perspective, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such an idle placed queen.
Yeah. I mean, it's such kind of deep foresight to have put it there, what was it, 10 moves ago, and controls everything. Okay, so maybe Nepomniachtchi's idea is to play a3. I think maybe you've stumbled on it, a5, a3. That would make the most sense of this bishop e7 move, I guess. If he wanted to play queen e1, he might have started with it on the last go. So
That's true.
yeah. Bishop on e7 is a bit short of squares, but I guess you can never really use any tactics against it.
Okay, but black can play c5. That's clear.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be suffering from any problems.
I was thinking about bishop c7 again, but always queen e1 covers a lot of squares, and yeah, bishop c7 maybe loses all the ideas of c5.
Yeah, that's a commitment, right? That he goes away, and then it's not nice to go back.
Yeah, I was just wondering, yeah, queen d7 to try and get c5, but the queen's so nice on f5, it's best not to move her. Okay, big decision for Magnus, to simplify with c5 or to wait and keep the tension. Either way, we've had a move in the Firouzja game. Firouzja has
d6.
pushed his d-pawn, yeah, d6. This is where we mentioned this, I mean, e5 is the critical try, I guess, but if white can take it, bishop takes e5. I don't think we found a refutation. If white can take now, then
Takes,
pretty scary.
takes. What did we do here?
Yeah, so earlier we looked at, for example,
Bishop e7 we were thinking,
Yeah,
but
bishop
maybe we didn't go all the way. Maybe
Okay.
after bishop e7.
you want to rook d1, but then black can castle, I guess.
Yeah, then castle.
So black is kind of threatening castles
Rapport
right now.
is also watching the game.
They need to focus. They need to
Quite
stop.
nerve-wracking stuff.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Oh, we've had a result. Meanwhile.
Yeah.
Wow. So Nepomniachtchi just offering a draw on move 33 to Magnus, and that's why Magnus was looking at the screen. That's why he was thinking. It looks like we have seen the fist bump, the peace agreement, and Magnus thinks there's not too much to analyze in that one. Yeah. So, okay, a draw, a fair result, but now big pressure on Magnus to win the Armageddon.
Well, there was little chance that it's going to be this